Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the December 8, 2016 special meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Port Harbor and Terminal District meeting to order. Get a vote. Let the record reflect that all 9 council members are present. If we please stand for the prayer by Council Chairman Kirk Lapine, and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for the parish natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom. And we pray for our world leaders to know how to attain world peace. We pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do which is right. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we do not have an executive session today. We'll move to item 3, status report by the Executive Report Director. But before I turn it over to you, General Sanders, I have a couple comments. I'd like to say that the port has come into a pretty bad situation in the past week. As you know, we're losing one of your top employees, Mr. John Pennison. It's going to be a tough year in 17 without him. As you know, Mr. Pennison left a well-paying job over 12 years ago to come work as a deckhand for the port, served as an engineer, a captain, port manager, and now the deputy port director. I'm not going to say too much more. I'm going to let you take that honor, Sandy, because I think you guys have worked very well together. But I know the port, the entire council, is really going to miss you, John. We really appreciate all the hard work you've done, all the things that you've done for this parish. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Sandy first, and I'm sure some members of the council like to have some moments as well. Sandy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to say that to the end of my comments, but I'm glad that you opened it up with the opening salvo, because it should be the opening thing. This guy sitting next to me is a remarkable individual that if y'all have ever worked with him, everyone in here can attest. I remember when I was interviewing for the job, I came 2 weeks early, hoping that I could sit down with someone at the port and compare notes when I was studying and doing my homework for my interview, and I met with Mr. John Pennison. And it didn't take me long until I realized, man, I can really work with a fellow like that. And I remember asking him, John, why didn't you throw your name in the hat for this? And he said, Sandy, I thought about it long and hard. And he goes, I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. He goes, I am much better prepared to take someone like you or whoever gets this job and to train them on what they need to know here and allow you to build this port, because anyone who takes this job, that's what they're going to be tasked to do. And I'm telling you, to me, it was like when I was a brand new company commander over in Europe, and the first sergeant brought me into his office. He said, just remember, I live here and you're visiting. But that first sergeant took me under his wing, and I became a pretty good company commander because of the unselfishness, the institutional knowledge that First Sergeant Herman graciously and lovingly kind of guided me through a lot of those humps. And that is exactly what John Pennison has done. John is, there's so many words I could use to describe him. He's such a fantastic listener. He's a champion to those who don't have a voice. He praises in public. He scolds behind doors. He's certainly not unabashed to bringing me into his office and scolding me pretty darn good. And there have been many times I walked out of his office with my tail between my legs because the guy loved me and he wanted me to do right. And every time he did that, he'd come back about an hour later and go, "I'm sorry about that." And I just have to laugh. I said, "No, John, I deserved it, and I'm glad that you're that type of person that you speak, truth to power." And he does. And I think all 9 of y'all know that you throw something at John, he's going to come back at you if it's not correct. And you need that. You need to have that bare truth for y'all, for all of us to make good decisions. He has the uncanny ability to take any situation that's thrown at him and quickly cuts down to the essence of the problem. He does not get confused with all the peripheral issues that will be around it. He gets right down to it, and he helps all of us at the port to focus on what has to be done. He's the yin to my yang. I'm going to certainly miss this guy. It's in many situations we all find ourselves in a situation like this, and we're all around the conference table, and John is going over all his duties, and we're making sure that we're covering down on everything that he's done. And a lot of times you just don't realize all the person does until he gets ready to leave, and we start divvying up all that he's done, his task, and we all have a full plate. But there's something that John just can't divvy out, and that's his approach, his love for his fellow man. He never thought anyone was better than him, but John never thought he was better than anybody else. He is a trusted friend, a true confidant, a champion of the port, the parish, our community, and the state. And this has been a long time coming. I always thought that John would forget about all the times he told me, "Sandy, I'm not going to renew my contract." And I would just say, "Yeah, or, oh, okay, John." And, I somehow would talk him into staying on. But then last Monday he came in and said I was going to stay until April, but I think 31 December is my time. And like all of us, it shook us. But he has shown the way. He has shone the light. He's a phone call away, and he means it when he says, I'm right here, but I'm going to do other things in my life. So, John, from me in the port, all the folks sitting to your left of you, we wish you well. You know you're going to be missed. Come by and have a cup of coffee. That's all we do at the port is drink coffee. And from the bottom of my heart, we love you very much. Thank you for everything you've done.
If you finish with his report.
Thank you, General. Mr. Lepine?
Mr. Pennison, I met you 6 years ago, and I remember how excited you were about the port, and you couldn't wait to tell me. And I don't know if you remember this. You took me on a ride on the Port Authority boat, and it was a Sunday, and of course I wasn't dressed appropriately, and I had Crocs on, and you took on the boat, and we shot the water out. You showed me how it worked. We went down. And on the way back, I remember riding, and I started to slip off the back. And I said, Lord, if I fall off this boat, they're going to have to do a recovery on a new councilman. I said, this is not good. But I remember your enthusiasm and your determination as you wanted to take a young man like myself and give him all the knowledge of all the port. Or you were just, you were piping with knowledge, and you were just wanting to explode. And it really touched me. And these 6 years have been wonderful. I thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for the port. I'm glad you live in the best district that it is, District 3. So I will see you around. I don't say see you later, I will see you around. But I want to thank you for everything you've done for me. So thank you, John.
Ms. Williams?
Mr. Pennison, it's been a pleasure for this short time that I've worked with you. Your knowledge, your passion, your determination and dedication for this parish, it's never gone unnoticed. Your willingness to help your fellow man, and it's going to be deeply missed. I wish you the best.
Mr. Russo?
Yes, John. As you know, I tend to ask for information quite often sometimes, and I want to thank you for responding always adequately and quickly. It's been a pleasure during this term and in the past working with you, and I wish you well. And at the bottom of the letter that you wrote for resignation, you said that you would be on a limited basis, and I'm wondering how limited that will be. I was thinking if that was a signal to say I'm going fishing or where I'm going, but I understood that you were retiring, and thank you for your years of service.
Ms. Detron?
Yeah, Mr. John, I appreciate all the one-on-one, the phone calls, actually answering your phone when I call. That's great. All the ambition that you've done for the port, and then also just make certain when you get ready to go fishing, call me, because I know where to go. Thank you, Mr. John.
Mr. Pathalli?
That's the first thing I would like to express my appreciation for your professionalism, very respect, and your attitude, very positive. Even though sometimes you don't want to be, but you still be positive. And it takes a lot to do that. And I guess I envy that in some people because I can't do that sometimes. But no matter what, you still maintain that type of characterism. And I'm very appreciative of that. The other thing was that whenever something came up, I needed to go to Port East or this, and we couldn't find, nobody would do it. Talk to you, tomorrow morning I'll be ready. It was not a problem. And we went down and you took care of everything. It was done to the point, and the issues were addressed. And any other question that came out throughout the years that you have been, the last 2 years you've been with the council, that I've been here, I'm very appreciative of those efforts. And I hope that you receive the same type of attitude that you have given this council in your life, whatever part of life or wherever you go into or whatever you get into, that it sends those same positive things to you. Good luck. God bless you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Burt?
I'd just like to comment on some of my the comments from other council members. John, it's been a pleasure. It's been a privilege to stand beside you and work with you, and wish you and your family the best. And we're always here if you need anything. Thank you very much.
Mr. Juneau?
Yes, sir, Mr. John. You've always been a gentleman. You've always been a class act, and we're going to miss that. And like I told you a while ago, to make a decision to retire is like making a decision when you get married. It's a hard decision, but I want you to enjoy it, and I want you to sleep late the first day that you're off. Thank you.
Dalvon?
Yes, Mr. Pennison, I just want to say thank you for your time served. And when you think of Plaquemines Port, for as good a job as all of your colleagues do, you don't think of a Sandy Sanders, you don't think of a Christine, you don't think of a Shambrell. When you say Plaquemines Port, you think of John Pennison. And when I got the email I was saddened, and my mind just went kind of crazy, because I thought usually when there's an abrupt departure like that, my first thought was, what's going on here? But then as I checked into and looked into the matter, I realized that it had been somewhat of a contemplation. You had contemplated this early on. It just happened to be a little bit earlier than what you anticipated. But I just wanted, after I have a conversation with you, you brought myself to some sort of level of easement by telling me that it was time, Ms. Alvin, and I felt better. So I just want to wish you the best of luck in all your endeavors. And on behalf of this council and as a port committee, I want to say thank you for a job well done. Thank you.
President Terrier?
John, you've been working mostly directly with the council, but I want to thank you for your relationship with the administration. You've been a friend and always willing to talk. You and I had a lot in common, being the older guys. We had more to share. But it's been a pleasure, and I wish you the best, John. Thank you.
Anyone from the audience would like to say anything, or Mr. Henry?
I had disagreement with the port agreements, but Mr. Pendleton, before he even hired the director, the colonel, you always was straight on your figures, and that always impressed me. And I got to tell you, man, you are a true public servant. Thank you for your service.
Reverend?
I'm glad I came when I came. I just want to thank you for being a great public servant. What I love about you is that, and I hope all of us can learn from you, we can have disagreement, but they're not antagonistic. And I know you probably disagree with 90% of the things that I've said over the years that I've known you, but after every meeting, before every meeting, wherever I saw you at, it was the same relationship. And I really respect that of you. And I've always felt that if anybody that's against the colonel, I felt that if anybody should have been over the Pope, I thought it was you, just because of your knowledge and the amount of time that you've been here. So I wish you well, my friend, and I want to agree with Mr. Juno, sleeping late many days, but you have been a true public servant. I think I'm up here, but there's so many other people that probably will see you later on and feel the same way I feel. So thank you for being an example of what a parish public service should be, that we can disagree with each other, but there still should be respect and love at the end of the day. So thank you for your many years of service to this great parish.
Mr. Lawrence?
Yes, I had to come up and just say thank you, Mr. Pendleton, because I feel this is someone who is honest. He's a citizen, and he was the true person I could go to. I disagreed with the port on a lot of occasions, but at least he was someone who would talk to me even when we disagreed. So, on behalf of the citizens, we thank Mr. Pendleton for his service. And, having been retired 16 years, it's not easy. You had an easy job. You knew what you're supposed to do. Now you're going to go home and take orders. Thank you.
Well, John, it's obvious from all the comments from the public, from the council, from the administration, how much you mean to the port and how much you mean to Plaquemines Parish. It's been an honor for me, sir. I will leave the final words to you, and I would definitely say stick around for some photos after this meeting. Enjoy your final 23 days of employment, and I hope you enjoy this final port meeting. But I'll yield the floor to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Black. I'd like to thank everyone for your kind words. I'm touched. Really, I'd like to thank everyone for your support over the years. I couldn't have done it without you. And even the community, thanks for your support. All I can say is it's been one heck of a ride. I've enjoyed it. And just thank you for the opportunities. Don't be sad by my moving on. Be happy for me, and realize that it's creating an opportunity for others. So thanks again for all your kind words. I'll be around. So again, thank you. That's it.
General Sanders, the executive report, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, and our fellow citizens. I am Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of Plaquemines Port, Harbor, and Terminal District. What follows is my Executive Director's report for the reporting period of 10 November to 8 December 2016. Before I get started, I would like to re-echo what Ms. Salvant said about John. And when you think about the port, you think John Pennison. He was the first executive director of the port. He was the continuity when it was a department of the parish, and when it was broken away, John was the gooey stuff in the oatmeal that held it all together. And I'm glad that we all got to take the opportunity to say goodbye to him in the fashion that we did. He'll be sorely missed, but like he said, he's always here. In our quest to seek upriver aggregation and distribution points that will complement our southern terminus, I met with the Port of Lincoln, Missouri, which is north of St. Louis. Port of Lincoln has recently purchased 7,000 plus acres on the Mississippi River. They are in their infancy stages of their master planning, but they have a firm handle on the importance of partnering with a downriver port to complete the end-to-end supply chain that I think is so important for success along the Mississippi River. Our talks were very positive, and all agreed to continue on an ongoing basis. Work has commenced on the improvement of the drainage on the port property and the immediate surroundings. All the material is in place, and our only short-term delays right now are weather-related, but they are well on their way to remedying the situation. Donald Durr, our Director of Operations, has also been working along with Mr. Roy Robichaud in assisting Chevron's Calcai facility across the river from Buras in getting their fire suppression systems back online following the various damages from hurricanes. Chevron has spent over $7 million on upgrades and equipment, and in the event of emergency, our port vessels will be able to attach their systems and supply water from the river for their fire suppression systems. We are integrating this into our training. We're going to all of the river industries and ensuring that our manifolds hook up with their manifolds. And it's training by hands-on. It's very worthwhile for the industry to know that we are there. And it's really great for our deckhands. They really enjoy it themselves. This past week, we coordinated and executed a breakfast presentation and follow-on port tour with local and state leaders to get boots on the ground of the project sites that will play heavy into the success of the onward movement of cargo from both the maritime port and the potential industrial sites around the Naval Air Station. During the brief, I told them it's one thing to continually brief PowerPoint to someone on what we're going to do, and you look up at the presentation and you're seeing a map, and it's quite frankly, it's sometimes very boring. But when you get out there on the ground, you're up front, close and personal, you're getting mud on your boots, you're looking over the levee, you're seeing where Peters Road is going to come across the canal, you're seeing where the rail's going to be, and then you take that trip around Buccaneer Road and ended up on Walker Road, and you're seeing the vast amount of land for potential industry. It truly is breathtaking. And I believe the takeaway for our legislators was, wow, this is really something, and it is what we preach. We have all the potential, but we have to take this potential and put it into some kinetic energy and move forward. But we were very well represented. We had 3 of our board members there, Board Member Black, Gino, and Roussel. Our state rep was there, Chris Leopold. We also had a couple state senators, Senator Hewitt of the Slidell area, and Troy Carter. We also had the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Wilson, with DOTD, and the new director of the newly stood up Agency of Commerce and Intermodal, Tommy Clark. Bob Bach and Sam Kaiser with the railroad were on hand. We had some folks from the Poverty leadership as well as Jefferson Parish leadership, and a representative from the Regional Planning Commission. It was a good day. It was a good eye-opener for some folks that have seen the brief many times on our strategic plan, but again, to realize that we had this powder keg right here in our community, it was really very eye-opening. I would like to thank my staff, Christy and Duck, for assisting and putting that together. It takes a while to do those type of things, and it went off without a hitch. We had some fantastic news from the Corps of Engineers this past week. The Corps has sent out a tentative selected plan, they call it a TSP, but they outline the dredging on the Mississippi for the first phase. This is huge. This is the biggest news that the Corps has put out about dredging the Mississippi in 50 years. In essence, what's going to happen is they have put in language that they have cited the shallow areas, particularly in the Southwest Pass. There's a crossing at Venice, and there's 3 crossings up north of the property line of the Port of South Louisiana, which is right above New Orleans. So this is going to bring the river to 50 feet up to the Port of South Louisiana. There will be a peer review, which takes about 45 days, and then this draft report will go into a final in March of 2018. It is what we call a bankable plan. And by bankable, they do tremendous amount of studies to find out what the benefit-cost ratio, the BCR. And it's how much money is put into the project and what is the return. And you're doing well if you get a BCR of $2. This is the highest BCR that has been recorded. It has an indirect ratio of over 9 points, and the direct ratio is 5.47. It is going to be entered into the U.S. Economic Development Plan, and we and our board, we were part of that as far as being part of the Big River Coalition. The letters that our board supplied to members of Congress for this deepening project all went into a big resounding voice that pushed this through. And a lot of times when we're down here, we don't grasp the gravity of how important this is to the United States. About 3 years ago, I went with Sean Duffy, who is the executive director of the Big River Coalition. We were in Chicago talking to the Secretary of Commerce, and she understood it very well. She said, by your doing this, you're allowing my farmers to put on 3 ships what normally has to be on 5 ships. And when you're in a global economy and you're racing with Brazilians and the Europeans to supply the type of grain that we do best here, the corn, the soy, the DDGs, this means a lot. So this is a huge benefit for our nation, and it's a great benefit for our region because we are now compatible, we will be compatible with the depth of the Panama Canal. So great news. I will now like to introduce to y'all someone we have met before, Mr. Dwayne DeClos with Castleton Commodities. Oh, yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, before we do, sir, I want to get to Eric before that, Sundstrom.
Oh.
But I want to open it up. Are you finished with your executive summary?
Subject to your questions, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
no, look, I appreciate the tour yesterday. I think it was a really phenomenal tour, and I appreciate Mr. Roussel and Mr. Juneau coming as well. I think it was very well attended, very informative, so we definitely appreciate the organization on that. I spoke to Mr. Sundstrom for a little bit. I'd like to bring him up first to give his report, and then I'll open it up to the council for any comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Eric Sundstrom, representing the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District. Just to echo the comments of Mr. Sanders, over the past, well, it's been a little over a month, the opportunities and tours that we've given to the legislative leadership has just been phenomenal. Starting with what I reported last month with the October 31st flyover organized by Representative Leopold with the two chairmen of the respective transportation committees, the Senate and the House, and then yesterday's event. The folks that we have brought down here have been the ones that are the decision makers. The Secretary, DOTD, his intermodal department head, like I said, the chairman, Senator Hewitt, who is vice chair of Senate Transportation, Senator Carter, who is a money man and is someone who can be a real asset to this community and to the port, it's just been phenomenal. And yesterday's tour, I woke up this morning and was still getting text messages from some of those folks thanking them, and they were expressing that they were a little hesitant to give up what eventually turned out to be just a whole day, but was very appreciative and glad that they did, because like Sandy said, having the opportunity to not only have the briefing, but to get in there and see, spending some time on the levee looking out over that pumping station and seeing the things that are going on was a real help to them. So when I go up there this coming session in 2017 begging for money, which there's very little of, they'll actually have an idea of what I'm talking about. And I'll be able to explain it better. I'll have an idea. So that concludes my report.
No, I appreciate it, Eric. If you're worried whether or not the state is looking at us, don't be.
Yeah.
Over the past month, we've had, at least to my knowledge, and maybe more, 3 state senators, not representing this area, 5 representatives, all tour the port and all facilities and received a presentation on the prospective growth. So the state is interested in what the port is trying to do. We've had the Secretary of Transportation, amongst some other folks. So very powerful folks, very informative by the director and by you, Eric. We appreciate all your help. So
thank you.
People are definitely watching us at the state level and are very interested.
Yeah.
I'll open it up to any other council members who have any questions.
I'd like to make a comment real quick.
Mr.
Thanks
Burke.
for your recap, Sandy. Thanks for your report. But before we get too further into the discussion, I'd like to thank Councilmember Bartholomew for the hospitality before today's meeting. He and his staff and all of those that helped prepare lunch for us today. It was special. Thank you very much, and greatly appreciate it.
Ms. Williams?
I just have a question, and I'm not sure that y'all have any information on this yet, but in reference to the dredging, has any talks been made about what they're going to do with the sediment? Are we going to try to do something with beneficial use for that sediment coming out of the river when they do decide to dredge? Eric, Sandy?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I was deferring.
I was talking to Eric. Sorry.
The northern crossings, they will probably just push it out into the river and let the flow bring it down. I talked to Sean Duffy this morning, and I said, the Vennisport is in proximity to a lot of areas that we want to take care of. And he understood that, and that they are talking about that. He has asked me to accompany him when we go talk. We've got a year now to start getting funding. So to bring some board members up to D.C. and talk about us taking the beneficial use of that dredge material for coastal restoration. The Southwest Pass, they've certainly caught on in very much use that beneficial use of the dredge material in bulking up the shoulders of the Southwest Pass.
Okay.
So good question, and it is being looked at very seriously.
Thank you.
Mr. Bartholomew?
I have a question I think you need to look into for the very near future, and that's the tower that's going to be built in Point Lahash. I suggest that you get with the administration, the president, the parents, and see if you need to acquire space for the tower. The new radio tower is going to be built in Point LaHash. Instead of waiting, I think if you can, because they're in the process of constructing. And within the next couple of months, they're going to be erecting the tower up, so if you need to be on it, they can make an arrangement to put your equipment on the tower.
Yes, sir.
And if I may, final personal thought, I'm not even going to try and address and echo a lot of the things that people have said about John. He's been a tremendous amount of help for me. He was not the first person I met when I came down here, but one of the probably top 3 or 4. And a lot of the advice and things that he's told me probably just remains between the two of us. But he has been a lot of help, and I'll miss him. And I know what retirement is, and I don't plan to bother him because he doesn't need to be bothered. He needs to just go home.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the director? All right, with that,
Yes, sir.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Ms. Williams answered one of my questions, because when I heard about the settlement, I was really where she at in terms of using it for beneficial dredging, because I might disagree with Billy and I guess on a lot of things, but that part of settlement beneficial dredging strike curve with all the people around this country who's talking about coastal restoration. The other thing, I heard the gentleman, I don't know his name, but just got finished talking about how you spend a lot of time with the Transportation Committee. And I've been in conversation the last 2 days, and one of the things that we were talking about is related to the ferry, because there's a lot of drama around the ferry, but we know that many years ago, the Road Royalty Fund, a lot of things were designed just to address the ferry. Have you ever thought about having a ferry put under having a ferry put under the port in terms of so it could sustain itself, and looking at the ways it was done before, where it wasn't a problem? Because I think we're making the ferry as a burdensome to this parish, draining it. But I think here this point is that when you use the Road Royalty Fund and other stuff before, it worked real well. So in the conversation we had the last couple of days, the port came up as a possibility. So I hope you just look into it and maybe tell us whether that's a good possibility.
Okay, at a later report, or I can address it
Yeah, I'm just saying that later.
initially? Okay.
Yeah, just look into
Sure.
it and see what the possibility.
It's a natural thing to think that that would be a good place for it, and there are pros and cons on the argument, and I will take the time at a later meeting and present that.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
You bet.
Thank you. Mr. Lawrence?
Yes, I have something for the executive director. I guess maybe Mr. Pennison can answer it better. But in the Gazette, they showed, had the article about this purchase of this tract of land for $7.3 million and 1,200 acres. And in it said it's the 2 tracts of Newport land are located along the river, directly to the north and south of the port's existing land. And a portion of that land is operated as a borrow pit. Question is, what borrow pit is located on this land, and how can it be located on the river adjacent to the existing land when the existing land, you have Celeste Farms on the river adjacent to the existing land now? And I guess just, I hadn't had a chance to, I just got the Gazette mailed in the mail, and I hadn't had a chance to meet with Mr. Pennison on this, but I'm completely lost in what borrow pit. Are we buying land that's a borrow pit? Do we have to backfill it? Or what borrow pit's involved with this?
The 2 pieces of property are the immediate upriver and downriver from what we call parcel 2, which is the port property.
Okay.
The upriver is not on the river. It has no river frontage. That's a Kinder Morgan piece of property.
Correct.
Okay. Parcel number 3, and the reason we bought 1 and 3, the same owner owns both of them. Parcel 3 was, we needed to purchase parcel 3 to provide the original requirement on our option holder. There is a lot of property on parcel 3 that is on the river. There are some individual properties, owners that we call them the piano keys, because when you look at a map, they're on the river and they come back into what is parcel 3. This provides us with 3,000 feet of river frontage. As far as the burrow pits go, if there are any burrow pits on property that we intend to buy, that acreage of that burrow pit is taken out of the total price. Huh? Yeah, there are no burrow pits on 1 and 3, though.
Okay. So there are no borrow pits on the property you're purchasing?
No, sir.
Okay, well then, because that is wrong.
Yeah, I think we want to go ahead, and you want to introduce Castleton?
Our next guest is a local fellow from New Orleans who now lives up in Connecticut. And when I went up to visit him about the Amex property, which Castleton Commodities owns, he walked me out to my car and said, "Figure out a way to get me down there as often as you can." But he's no stranger to the port. He's no stranger to our board. Dwayne DeClos came down and addressed our board a couple, 3, 4, 5 months ago as far as getting the advantages of the FTZ for the property. The port graciously allowed us to do a strategic partner with the Port of South Louisiana in granting them this, and that really provided the edge in their company to make a profit and to make the Amex property go back into production and sizzle, and I believe it's 50, 60 plus jobs that they put there. If you had a chance to come across on the ferry up north out of Belle Chase, you saw they have a ship that's being loaded. So they're utilizing the property right now. It's in production, and it's great for Castleton Commodities, certainly great for our community. So in concert with us highlighting a business once a month that is doing business here in our community, I would like to introduce to y'all Dwayne DeClos. He is the counsel for Castleton Commodities.
Thank you very much, Sandy. I appreciate the introduction. Those are very kind words. Good afternoon to Mr. President and the honorable members of the council. As General Sanders stated, I was here in May of this year to make a presentation and ask for the support of the council for Castleton Commodities application for a foreign trade zone. The council saw fit to grant that support, and we were designated as a foreign trade zone, although under the auspices of grantee number 124, which is the Port of South Louisiana, a little bit upriver from here in Laplace. So today, I've come back to, at the request of General Sanders, to give you an update as to the activity that's going on down at what we call CCI Braithwaite Storage, but furthermore, to give you a little bit fuller introduction or a fuller understanding of Castleton Commodity International and what it is we do, and why we're able to take advantage of the opportunity that the parish has presented us at Port Nickel / CCI Braithwaite Storage. First of all, as an attorney, I have to say that any of the information that I present to you, I believe to be true, I believe to be accurate, but if anything is inaccurate, that fault belongs to me and not to my employer or to anyone else at Castleton, so please grant me that indulgence. As I've said, today's presentation is to provide a fuller description of Castleton Commodities International, or to get you to know your tenant of the Port of Plaquemines a little bit better. Furthermore, I'd like to provide you with a limited update on the activities in progress at Braithwaite Storage. I say limited because, as you can appreciate, due to competitive forces, there's only so much information that I can divulge in an open forum like this. However, I do extend an open invitation to any one of the members of the council to come on down and visit and take a look around. Would be more than happy to give you a personal tour. Councilman Roussel, Councilman Juneau, Councilman Bartholomew, I know that each of you have been down there to see the facilities, and to anyone else who would like to come down and see them, we'd be happy to host you. First of all, Castleton Commodities International. Who are we? Castleton Commodities International, we are a global energy commodities merchant and investment company. We invest in diversified types of energy commodities, including related commodities across the entire energy and industrial chain. We both market and trade, purchase and sell commodities. We also make investments in commodity assets in projects. The types of assets that we might invest in could go anywhere from storage facilities to electric power generation plants. The types of commodities we trade in, which we'll see on the next slide, range across the entire spectrum of energy commodities as well as related industrial commodities. Our global footprint is truly global. We have offices in 6 different countries, but we're active in about 52 at my last count. We also have a rather substantial balance sheet and pretty deep pockets thanks to our investors and to the capital markets that we are able to access, which I'll discuss a little bit more in a minute. First of all, we'll talk about the various types of commodities that we trade, as you can see on the slide. And I do apologize for not bringing the PowerPoints enough for everybody, but I'm happy to share those with you. As soon as I make a couple of corrections to a few mistakes that I have in here, I'll be happy to send them along. We are participants in the markets for natural gas, the markets for electric energy, the markets for crude oil, the markets for refined products from crude oil. We also make investments in the freight markets through the purchase or leasing of ocean-going vessels. We also participate in the markets for bulk commodities. By bulk commodities, we talk about coal. We may be talking about iron ore. We also participate in industrial metals, the purchase and sales of industrial metals, and petrochemicals. We touch on a little on all of those various commodities. I think in order to give you maybe a little bit of a perspective on what we may be able to do down at Braithwaite Storage in the future. I'd like to also touch on our infrastructure portfolio. We make significant investments in assets throughout the entire energy and industrial commodity spectrum. Whether those assets may be pipelines or natural gas refining plants, whether they be electric generation facilities. We may make investments in storage facilities, such as the investment that we've made at Braithwaite. We have made investments in coal terminals that over the past several years have not been exactly the best place to be, but things may be turning around. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's a secret to say that our original plans for the property that we bought, former Amex property we call Port Nickel, was originally to be a coal storage terminal. Market forces prevented us from going forward with that. However, the opportunities that we've been able to capture under this latest project, I think, far outweigh any of the bad memories we have about the previous opportunities we missed. CCI, how do we do what we do? Well, we take a diversified approach both to the products that we sell, to the markets that we participate in, and then also to the way we analyze and understand the markets that we choose to participate in. This slide basically tries to bring across the idea that Castleton takes a fundamental approach by studying the markets and then by making what we believe to be smart, savvy investments in commodities or in products. We're able to gather information, and based upon the information, we can do our research, we can do our homework, and then deploy capital in order to try and turn those investment theses into positive investment results. As I also mentioned a little bit earlier, we have a global market access. This global information is a very important component of our ability to succeed. Information about conditions in one part of the globe may dramatically affect the value of investments and the value of commodities, the value of your activities in other parts of the globe, either for better or for worse. So this slide gives a little bit of information as to how we approach our global presence and our reputation. The next slide that I ask you to turn to or to take a look at, I find it to be particularly important because it addresses where does the money come from. And based upon our reputation and based upon the investors that we have, our pool of investors, this gives us access to bank facilities. It gives us access to capital markets to place debt. It gives us access to additional investments, private investments by shareholders. We could come here and tell you all the things that we want to do and all the grand ideas that we have, but unless we have the money to pay for it or we have access to the money to pay for it, it's just talk. So I'd like to emphasize that the relationship that we have with the sources of capital that participate in these markets is very deep, and it's something that we're very proud of. Across the bottom of this slide, there are several banks that we do business with: ABN AMRO, Citibank, Societe Generale. The list goes on. I'd like to talk for a minute about a luncheon that we held in July of this year in order to show off our new property down at Port Nichol to several of the representatives of some of these banks. Some folks up in Stamford, Connecticut decided it would be a good idea to show off our new jewel in the crown and to take some of the bankers and invite them down to South Louisiana. They decided to do that in the middle of July. They also decided that they were going to serve lunch to these bankers from London and New York on the dock, and they were going to serve it to them at 2 in the afternoon. And nobody asked me anything about this plan, and when I finally found out about it, somebody said, "Well, Dwayne, sorry we didn't invite you. Would you like to come?" I said, "No, thanks. I think I'll pass. Sounds like it's going to be a great trip." Well, everybody got down here, and they showed people around the property, and it had been raining every day for about 3 weeks, so everybody had a difficult time walking around in their English leather shoes across the property. And then by the time they got out to the dock, the temperature was about 98 degrees, and as we all know, when the temperature gets to be that hot, usually some thunderstorms come rolling in through the middle of the summer afternoon. And sure enough, a deluge drenched everybody sitting on the dock, and it turned out to be pretty much of a washout. But anyway, I guess I could have given them a heads up if somebody would have asked. Let's turn now to the facility, Braithwaite Storage. I'm sure several of you are familiar with the property. I'd like to give you a description of the facility, some of the logistics that we employ there, and some of the milestones that we've hit over the last several months since we received FTZ status. The facility is a 67-acre, the FTZ, Braithwaite Storage, is a 67-acre dry bulk commodity storage facility, and it's located within a 387-acre parcel of land that is also owned by CCI. So we bought the entire property. However, the foreign trade zone is just a subsection of that property. Why is it just a subsection? Well, we have different zoning across that property, so not all of it was suitable for storing industrial commodities. We also have other ideas about other businesses that we may like to try and pursue on this property. There was some discussion about developing a methanol plant a couple of years ago. However, that kind of hit a rough patch, but we still have the plans sitting on the bookshelf. So it's part of a larger idea that we may choose to employ there. So I'd like to present that point as to the opportunities to broaden the foreign trade zone or the opportunities to pursue other commercial activities may present themselves. As I said, we currently enjoy foreign trade zone status as a designee of the Port of South Louisiana. That foreign trade zone status is effective through the end of 2017. That's a point I'll get back to in a moment. The logistics, as most of you know, I'm sure just telling you things that you're already fully aware of. We have ship and barge access, we have truck access, and we have the potential for rail access there, which makes this location a very, very attractive opportunity to continue to develop. It's located at Mississippi Mile Marker 76. We're on a state highway, and the terminus of the Norfolk Southern Railroad comes right into the back of the property. Now, the railroad, we're in talks with Norfolk Southern to rehabilitate that section of track. It hasn't been used in many years, but it certainly is an opportunity that we're considering carefully. Over the past several months, we've upgraded Deepwater Dock. We now have a dock of 774 feet overall, 514 feet on the main dock, plus two 130-foot dolphins. The capability to unload 2,000 tons of cargo per day is what we've experienced there, and we know that through some recent activity, and this is about twice the capacity that we expected to have when we were doing our planning. What are some milestones that we've reached? We received our first shipment of industrial materials there by truck in May of 2016. We received FTZ status in June of 2016. We received our first shipment via the Mississippi River in November of 2016. And we also successfully passed our first random U.S. Customs Department inspection just last week. That's important, I think, for everybody to know, and that we take our business seriously, we take our obligations seriously, and when the administration or when the regulators or the Customs Bureau shows up, we're prepared. The next picture, this is just a quick overview of the property. As you can see, the dock on the river is to the left, English Turn Boulevard, the street running between the property and the river. The blue lines to the back are the Norfolk Southern Railway. That the bed is there. I don't know what kind of shape the tracks are in. I believe that requires some extensive renovation. And the red line property is the FTZ. That's about 68 acres of a 380-acre parcel. So what have we done there, and what do we plan to do in the future? To date, we have made upgrades to the dock and spent about $4 million upgrading just the dock facilities. New mooring dolphins, new breasting dolphins, lighting and surfacing. I'm not as familiar as I should be with many of those terms. I've taken that from some of the people who have worked on it. So if I use anything incorrectly, I do apologize. What improvements have we made to the site? Well, to gain FTZ status, there were several security measures that we had to take. Both to gain FTZ status and as a prudent operator, you would think you would want to do many of these things in any event. We've put up new fencing. We've refurbished some of the hard surface for storage. There's been an office erected there. We have lighting and electrical around the property, along with security cameras, as well as cleanup and drainage improvements that had to be made. Employment. What type of employment have we brought to the parish? Currently, we have hired on a full-time basis about 5 employees under CCI, but that's not the only people we employ. We understand that Associated Stevedores, and please don't hold them to that, but we understand that they've made hires of about 30 additional people in order to service our dock and help us with the loading and the unloading that we undertake at the property. Furthermore, we employ during peak periods anywhere from 25 to 30 contract truck drivers to move product from other locations in the area back to our location or from the dock just across the street. So although these employees aren't technically CCI employees, those are jobs that have been brought to this community because of our presence. Future upgrades and opportunities. Well, we have a 3-year plan right now, and every long-term plan is nothing more than a series of short-term plans, so these things could change by the moment. However, right now on the budget, we expect to spend another $2.5 million further upgrading the dock and make site improvements, about $1.5 million to upgrade the railroad, another $2 million of expenditures to resurface the property for storage purposes, as well as $100,000 of that number is just a placeholder. We have some rather dilapidated warehouses, but as we begin to broaden the types of products that we can store, and we need to store things in climate control environments, the price of updating those warehouses, or the spend on updating the warehouses, would go up. The other future upgrade or opportunity that I wanted to bring to the council's attention, and I've spoken to Sandy about this, as well as to John, who I might add it was instrumental in helping our management understand the opportunities that we had. So I want to compliment him from a different perspective, in addition to all the lovely language that everyone has showered upon him today. But we at CCI stand fully ready to support the Port of Plaquemines should they choose to move forward and file an application as a foreign trade zone grantee of their own. During the process, General Sanders and Mr. Pennison, as well as members of the council, were very supportive of us, and if that is something that the parish decided that would be in their best interest to move forward with, we certainly would be supportive of that. Unfortunately, I can't give you many pictures, but that's a very pretty fence. And, there's a vessel in the dock. So you can see that we've made some upgrades, and we continue to appreciate the opportunity that the parish of Plaquemines has presented to us. And in closing, I'd like to state that CCI is pleased to be a part of the Plaquemines Parish community. We're grateful for the help and support that we receive from the Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's Department, from the people of the Plaquemines Parish community, and in particular this Honorable Council, the support, as well as Councilman Bartholomew, as well as General Sanders and Mr. Pennison and the rest of the personnel at the port. So we look forward to continuing and building upon what we believe is a mutually beneficial relationship. And although Mr. Sanders already brought this point forward, just so anyone here didn't think I was just some lawyer from Connecticut, I'll tell you I'm also class of '82 of Brother Martin High School, just to speak to my bona fides. Anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to share these materials with you. Anything I can do, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Apologize for your high school education, but does anybody from the council have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah, I would like to thank CCI for the employment of the people on the East Bank, and I appreciate that very much. It helped out a lot of the folks on this end and on the upper end. They was very cordial to the people and went through the process very positive, and everybody enjoyed the interviewing process. So I want to thank you all for that.
You're very welcome. We couldn't have done it without your support, Councilman Bartholomew, and thank you very much. I'm sure some folks would be happy to hear that.
Mr. Black, may I make a comment?
Sure.
I'd like the council to state that back in fall of last year, the Corps of Engineers was doing a lot of revetment work in the area of the Belle Chase Ferry and the port barge. CCI was gracious enough to allow us to tie our port barge up, the ferry support vessel, all of our vessels, and up to their dock at no charge to the port or the parish. I think that speaks a long ways to their willingness to be a good corporate citizen for Plaquemines Parish. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the audience before I close out? Mr. Henry.
I'm going with
Could you tell the public, is CCI a public trading corporation?
No, sir, we're a privately held company.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we appreciate the presentation. We will move now to the item 4, bids and advertisements. We have none. Introduction of... Councilman Pathala?
None.
I have one, approving that certain purchase agreement dated October 13, executed and subject to council approval, and authorized Maynard Sanders, Executive Director of the Plaquemines Port Harbor Terminal District, to purchase certain land owned by Carol and Frederick Wilhoff Jr., and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have. Mr. Juneau? Mr. Russo? Ms. Lapine? Mr. Burt? Mr. Saltman?
None.
Ms. Edgecombe? And Ms. Williams? All right, we'll move to item 6. Quickly, all right, executive session and back up to court. So, item 6A. Ms. Marcotte.
There are none.
Ma'am.
There's nothing for 6A.
6B.
Okay. They go to 6B, please.
A resolution electing the Parish Port Harbor and Terminal District Chairperson for 2017 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Change. Line 6, in the blank, Councilmember Black. Second by Mr. Lapine. Any questions or comments from the table? Questions or comments from the audience? We're voting on 6B. Let the record reflect, resolution passes 9-0. Thank you for your support, my colleagues. I appreciate the vote of confidence. We'll move to 6C.
A resolution electing the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District Vice Chairperson for 2017 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer with changes. Line 6, Councilmember Edgecombe. Councilmember Lapine. Any questions or comments from the table? From the audience? For a vote? Let the record reflect that item C passes, the resolution passes 9-0. Thank you, Ms. Edgecombe. Item 6D.
A resolution appointing the members of the Port Committee of the Plaquemines Parish Council for 2017 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I will offer with changes. On line 16, Councilmember Black. Line 18, Councilmember Edgecombe. Line 20, Councilmember Trufant Salvant. Line 22, Councilmember Williams. Second. Any questions or comments from the table? Do what?
The date.
Oh, hold on. I didn't go down long enough. Yeah, line 12, effective January 1st, 2017. And we have to change also line 13, I'm sorry, that's right. Effective January 1st, 2017. Let the record resolution pass 9-0. Let's go to 6E, please.
A resolution provide insurance for the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District for a period of January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2017, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I will offer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bartholomew. Any questions or comments from the table?
My only question is, has there been an increase or is it the same?
This is the insurance for our general liability, and it's just a less than 10% increase.
So there is an increase? What
Yes.
percentage?
About 10%.
Any other comments from the audience? All right, let's vote. Mr. Edgecombe. Let the record reflect 6E, resolution passes 9-0. 6F, please.
A resolution to provide port employees group coverages consisting of health, dental, vision, and life for the policy period of January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2017 on an employer-employee contributory basis of 83% to 17% and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Juneau. Any questions or comments from the table? From the audience?
I just wanted
Mr. Russo?
clarification. I know the parish insurance went from Blue Cross to a different carrier. This is an increase as well, or did y'all have a proposal from Humana?
Humana, we have several companies, because of the size of our group, will not allow for early retirees. Humana does not allow for early retirees, so we remain with Blue Cross. There was a 13.5%, almost 14% increase with our health, vision, and dental and life benefits through Blue Cross.
Thank you.
All right, we'll bring it to a vote. Let the record reflect item 6F, 9-0. Item G.
An ordinance to amend and as amended readopt ordinance number 16-91 dated August 25th, 2016, which authorized the appropriation of funds from the Port Land Purchase Fund to be used for removal of inadequately sized culverts and installation of appropriately sized culverts as determined necessary with the assistance and guidance of the Plaquemines Parish Engineering Department in ditches and canals located on port property and adjacent properties where port property drainage is impacted and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Do you have a second? Second one, Mr. Burt. Any questions, comments from the table? The audience? With none, we'll bring it to a vote. Let the record reflect ordinance passes 9-0. H, please.
An ordinance adopting the original operating budget of revenues and expenditures for the Plaquemines Port Harbour Terminal District for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2017 and ending December 31st, 2017 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I will offer. Second by Mr. Lapine. Any questions or comments from the table? From the audience? We can vote, please. Ms. Solomon? Let the record reflect that the ordinance passes 9-0. Item I, please.
An ordinance establishing a policy of budgetary control for the operating budget of expenditures for the Plaquemines Port Harbour and Terminal District for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2017 and ending December 31st, 2017 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Any questions, comments from the audience? With none, we'll bring it to a vote. Let the record reflect that the ordinance passes 9-0. Item J, please.
An ordinance adopting the original capital improvement budget for the Plaquemines Port Harbour and Terminal District for the 5-year period beginning January 1st, 2017 and ending December 31st, 2021 and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer. Seconds. Any questions, comments from the table? From the audience? Bring it to a vote, please. Mr. Russo? Let the record reflect that the ordinance passes 9-0. New business, we have none. We have no introduction resolutions or suspensions being sought. Item 8, please.
Approval of the November 10, 2016
Black.
special meeting and
Mr. Black, Just before we go any further, either close the meeting, I would just like to make a recommendation for next year for the committee, that all of the legislation don't necessarily come from the chairman. You know, maybe we can have some of the recommendation to come throughout the committee members, so it won't look like it's just, you know, for some reason, I just have the way it comes off that every legislation is authored by the chairman.
No, that's fine. The majority of these are all housekeeping, I think.
No,
These, yeah.
I'm just saying in general, you know,
Yeah.
it should be either the port chair or maybe even another committee member of the port, rather than just have all of the,
Yeah, I mean, this was all housekeeping. I think we do have a lot that goes through you, because most of it's in your district, especially
No,
the
but I
zoning
mean-
stuff. But yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
okay.
be cognizant of that.
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
As you go into a new year, I also hope that this port, council members on the port and the parish government as a whole look how the Port Authority can be beneficial to all the parish. And because I still think there is a divide between the parish council and the port as being separate from the parish government. And I truly hope that as a citizen of the parish and other people, it become a time where the port and the parish council one and the same, the government one and the same, because I think in a way we could benefit the whole community in terms of employment and deal with all the financial crisis that we had. When the gentleman was up here talking about how you developed the AMAC port, I remember as a single young man and as a player, you know, when I needed some money, you know, I made a lot of money working at that dock. You know, I wasn't employed with AMAC, but you thought I was employed because, you know, it was a great means of employment for me at that time in my life and so many other people. But I just hope that you, in terms of the leader, port, really sincerely look at the way another council member with the parish president, because I think the port could be a good financial source of revenue for the whole parish and help bring revenue to deal with the kind of crisis that we have in this parish.
Appreciate your remarks. Thank you. 7A.
Approval of the November 10, 2016 special meeting and the 2017 budget hearing minutes.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
offer.
Oh. Thank you, Mr. Russell. You have a second?
You told me last night you were going to second the minutes for me today.
I'll do it, yes. I'll second it.
You don't remember that?
I'll do it. I'll also second the adjournment, too. Mr. Russo's offer passes 9-0. Good job, Mr. Russo. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Mr. Russo moves a motion to adjourn. I'll second that. Motion to adjourn. So vote, please. Motion to adjourn passes 9-0. Let the record reflect that the port meeting is concluded at 2:20. Got all of them?
Yeah, I figured you did.
You take a picture, say vote, take a picture with John.
Yeah, let's take a picture with John.
Yeah, on the way to
Sandy, hey, Sandy, hey, y'all hold on 1 second. Let him open real quick, and we're going to move to executive session. And when we go, because we got to get to executive session. Now just hang on.
I'll call the council meeting of December 8, 2016 to order. The machine is open for roll call at 2:21, I'm sorry. Let the record reflect all non-sitting council members are here. We're kind of in a rush to get to executive session. Ms. Barb, will you read executive session 1A, please?
Number 1, Plaquemines Parish Civil Service Commission et al. Versus Plaquemines Parish Council et al., 25th Judicial District Court, docket number 63-231, Division A, LRS 42:17A2, Attorney Danny Garrett. Councilmember Lapine. Number 2, prospective litigation involving former employee Paula Dove in regard to her layoff from the Civil Service Department, LRS 42:17A2, Attorney Danny Garrett. Councilmember Lapine.
I'll offer it. Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Machine's open for executive session. With a 9-0 vote, we'll convene the executive session at 2:22.
Before you guys go in, we're going to get a picture with John and the port staff.
Binding action. Ms. Barber, will you read? We'll move to item 7H. Will you read 7H?
Yes, sir. Consideration and action on direction to the attorney for the council in regard to ongoing and prospective litigation.
Mr. Garrett, our council attorney, will you give us a brief explanation?
On the, y'all aware we have 2 lawsuits pending with the Civil Service Commission. The second one specifically affecting a budgetary ordinance that y'all adopted, defunding one of 2 administrative positions there. On December 6th, that employee's appeal hearing went forward, and it is my information. I was there for the entire time. A number of you got subpoenaed. A number of you were called to testify. Despite a prior ruling from the prior hearing officer in that case that the only issue that the Civil Service Commission would consider would be the civil service rules applicable to the situation, they took a great amount of evidence, and the employees' attorneys made significant argument on one issue, really, and that was trying to get the Civil Service Commission to rule that your ordinance was somehow invalid, unlawful, or unconstitutional. I don't believe that they have the authority to do that. Unfortunately, the way civil service law works, when a Civil Service Commission makes a ruling, then either the employee or the appointing authority, if they are displeased with that ruling, can appeal that to the Court of Appeals. Well, in this case, certainly if they rule that the ordinance defunding the position that effectively puts the employee back in place, she's not going to appeal that. And given that the Civil Service Commission's second lawsuit asserts that they think that your ordinance exceeds your authority, if they lose, they're not going, if they vote to say that they lose, they're not going to appeal their ruling. And I think what that, the effect that would have would be to circumvent your standing in that second lawsuit and never give this council the opportunity to stand in court and argue before a judge as to whether or not you have budgetary authority in this parish. It is my recommendation that you authorize me to immediately leave, file for a temporary restraining order and a preliminary injunction asking Judge Connor to order that the Civil Service Commission can rule on anything else they want, but what they cannot rule on is the ordinance itself, because they don't have that authority, and that matter is pending before him, and it will be his court and subsequently the Court of Appeals and potentially the State Supreme Court that will rule on your authority with regard to budgetary ordinances. So my recommendation is you authorize me to make that filing on your behalf.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to move on Mr. Dan's recommendation.
There's been a motion on the floor from Mr. Edgecombe, second by Mrs. Trufant. Any questions before we open the machine? The machine is open on the motion. And the motion's granted 8 with no vote from District 6. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
We'll move back to the regular agenda. Before we get moving on the regular agenda, Mr. Bartholomew, do you have any withdrawals or deferrals today? 7G? Okay. All right. That's withdrawn or deferred? Deferred? Okay. That's all? Mr. Black? 6A1. Okay. That all? Mr. Juneau?
I have none.
Thank you. Mr.
7C, defer.
7C. Okay. All right. I have none. Mr. Burt?
I'm going to withdraw 7F. I'm going to defer 6F,
I'm sorry. 6F?
6F, 6G, 6Q, and 6R will be all deferred.
Q and R? And R.
G. Okay. Q and R. Okay. Q and R. Okay, Ms. Alvin?
I have none.
Thank you. Mr. Edgecombe?
Let's withdraw H, defer U.
6H?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Let's withdraw on H. Defer 6U.
6H is withdrawn.
Yes, sir.
And what's the other one?
6U.
6U?
Defer.
Defer. Okay.
And 7C, I'm sorry, 7E, defer.
Defer. Okay. Ms. Williams?
I have none, sir.
Okay. Recap, and if I missed any, please let me know. 6A1 is deferred. 6F and G are deferred. 6H is withdrawn. 6Q is deferred. 6R is deferred. 6U is deferred. 7E is deferred. 7C, I'm sorry, 7C and 7E. And 7F will be withdrawn. And 7G is deferred. Did I miss any? Okay. With that, we'll move to item 1. We have no proclamation, so 1C, status report by the parish president.
Mr. Chairman, I have no report, but I'll entertain any questions from the council.
Okay. Any comments, questions?
Yeah, I do. Director Giles, I would ask your office to look into the water department once again. I'm continuing to receive water bills that are being miscalculated. I had one constituent whose water bill is usually 9,000 gallons a month. He had 59,000 gallons of uses this month. Another constituent who was, the last 2 months were, I think, 12 and 13,000 gallons, and it was 29,000 this month. And when I called the water department, I did get some good assistance and went out and checked it, and I was pretty much advised that they don't necessarily call the constituents. I would just ask maybe look into that and find a better process. If the water bills, if there's some type of red flag and they have that much of a discrepancy in usage, maybe those folks from the water department can contact the resident and say, hey, look, you might have a leak. Let us come out and meet you. I think they went and met them today, the people called, but just kind of want to bring that to your awareness.
Okay. I'll look into it. Thanks so much.
Okay. Anyone? Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah, I'd like to add the administration to look into the fire ratings, especially on the lower end of the East Bank. We've been a 10 for several years, and that's no improvement. That's like not even having a fire department, period. So we really need to address that and get some changes in place so that we can bring that about. Now, also, I think some of the problem with the water department, the water pressure could be a problem. Not having enough pressure to fight fire. So we can look into that and see what's going on with that. And the other concern is the companies that's in, especially we come in with the courthouse, suggest that they employ as many local people as possible in the parish for the construction, not as specialists, but as labor and certain general type jobs that they may have because of the standing economic factor that exists in our parish at this time, and also because of the number of people that is being laid off by our government due to the crisis of budgetary reasons. So see if maybe they can pick up when y'all have dialogue with them to see if that's possible, that they consider employing parish people. Okay. That's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Ms. Williams?
Yeah, I just want to take this time to thank Mr. Derio for stepping in these last couple of months, working with us with the situation that we have. Just want to thank you and wish you the best, Mr. Derio.
Thanks for your support.
Okay, Edgecombe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Ed, on Shipyard Empire, any light on the office building, the container?
I thought we had a building already for that. It hadn't been brought on the site.
The container's been there for roughly 2 months.
Okay.
Maintenance still hasn't done anything. I think they switched to trying to find money for our grant to purchase one that's already fixed. And I haven't heard any more on that, and my guy was basically working out of a truck.
That's Empire Shipyard.
Yes, sir.
We'll look into that.
Thank you.
Ms. Salman?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is to Reverend Giles.
Yes, ma'am.
I received a phone call from a constituent on this morning, and her question was in regard to her being an elderly person and a handicap, but in traveling, utilizing the ferry, she was not at the time driving the vehicle. So she was not given the exemption that an elderly person would be given, because she was told that if you're not driving the car, then, we can't give you the exemption. Can you clarify that up for me?
I think the way the ordinance was proposed, if you were 65, but you wasn't the driver of the vehicle, that didn't give you exempt status. Personally, this is me, if a person is 65 years old and they are the owner of that vehicle and they're on the passenger side because they can't drive or for whatever reason, sickness or whatever, if they would show proof that, hey, this is my car, but I'm unable to drive it at this particular time, I would give the guys on the ferry instructions to allow them to cross the ferry. But we have to take it by case, because a lot of times you may have individuals who really not the owner of the car, but just a passenger. And then, if that's the case, everybody would try to ride free. But if it's a person who is the owner of the vehicle and they're not driving for whatever reason because they're sick or maybe be a diabetic and maybe under some kind of medication, we'll make exceptions on that.
And I sort of agree with you, but I would like to see maybe a public notice or something go out from the administration indicating that if they're electing to utilize the exemption based on the age or whatever, they need to be prepared to show these documents. So if that's out in the public, then, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I sort of, if you're not feeling well or your granddaughter is driving you to, and I think this was the particular case.
Correct.
Her granddaughter was driving her to a doctor appointment or something like that. And she was pretty upset by it. So, I'm just saying, let's be accommodating to our elders in any way we can. Maybe just some type of
I totally agree
public
with you.
notice.
I'll adopt something and draft something up to present, and I'll give it to the deckhands to let them know if a person is 65 years old and they are the owner of that vehicle and they're not driving but they're a passenger, to allow them to be exempt.
Okay, but I was mainly referring to, Rep, was like to the IT person. You don't have him to do a public notice that can go out to the general public?
We can.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the table?
Thank you, ma'am.
Audience?
Mr. Ed, I don't know if there will be another council meeting this month or not, but I again also want to thank you for serving in as the interim parish president for Plaquemine Parish, and I think you did a great job under some unusual circumstances, and I appreciate the many phone calls that you returned, all of my phone calls, and I hope that in January coming that some of this burden be off you and you can be a normal parish employee again.
Thank you, Reverend.
Anyone else? Go back to the agenda. We'll skip over item 2. No, just kidding, Ms. Barr. We'll go to item 2. Barbara?
I was going to take care of that.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Brenda Stanifer with the Plaquemines Parish Purchasing Agent. I have a resolution authorizing acceptance of bids for purchasing river pump sand for parish-wide use. After due advertisements, bids were received November 15th from Leon Duplessis of Belchase and Naren Enterprises of Buras. It is my recommendation that we accept the bid of Leon Duplessis for the area north of Murder Grove, including Braithwaite on the east bank, and also accept the bid of Naren Enterprises for areas south of Murder Grove, including Point Lahash on the east bank. No, sir.
Has there been an offer on the table, the bid, second by Mr. Edgecombe? Any questions on the bid? Resolution? Yes, sir, Mr. Bonham.
How they going to get this material to the lower east bank if they have to cross in Belchase because they can't cross the Point Lahash Ferry?
I think what they normally do is they stockpile the sand on either side anyway, so I guess,
That's going to be a problem. It's going to cost them more to do that than rather the places on the northern end. It's going to straight down. But that's what they want to do. That's fine. But I'm just saying,
I mean, this is the way that the bid has always been that I'm aware of, when it's just these two bidders. If we're working on the south end, they like to get it from the
They don't
south
mind
end
doing
vendor. So we're just trying to appease the whole parish.
I don't understand the cost. They come back to us like
Well, it wouldn't be any extra delivery charges on us. They gave us the prices, which is freight
We have to
included.
live by within-
Right, exactly. And we're locking them into a year, so.
That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Russo.
But this includes being picked up at the site, and we would be hauling some of it, correct?
If we choose to, yes, sir. There's different, the first one is picked up by the parish, and the second item is being delivered by the vendor.
Okay. Any other?
Yeah, could you educate those of us in the public who are ignorant about what you're talking about when you talk about using river pump sand for parish-wide use? What that entail?
Well, we buy bulk sand from the sand companies or whatever, and whenever the parish needs some for their jobs, they go to the different locations that we have it stationed, and heavy equipment will go, or whatever department goes and picks it up, and we use it for the various locations. But this allows us to have it on site in bulk whenever we need it, whether it's, sandbags or whatever the case would be.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Oh,
Chairman.
sorry.
Yes, this may sound a little petty, Ms. Sandifer, but where does the verbiage come from in this resolution? I always see, and I've brought this question up many times before, where do we get the description of north of Myrtle Grove? What that encompasses? Because in my mind, north of Myrtle Grove is Ironton.
Well,
all right, maybe La Receipt. What are we speaking of?
I'm using Murder Grove as the line to say this is from Murder Grove north would be Duplessis, and Murder Grove south would be Naren. To make it fair that each vendor
Well, then
gets.
in that case, you don't need north of. You just say from Murder Grove south or Murder Grove.
Well, I'm just making Murder Grove the cutoff. If
Kind of
you
a
don't-
dividing line.
Right. I mean, it's not north and south. It's just a directional. It's not any
And the reason I'm saying that, because it took a lot of effort from the community of Ironton to at least get our community recognized on parish maps. So when I see this, it kind of offends me in a sense.
Well, I
When you
apologize.
talk of,
I'm not labeling to Belchase, to Jesuit Bend, to Naren, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, and globally, using Murder Grove
Okay,
as
it's nothing
the...
directly right at you, but I just was wondering where the verbiage come from, and I've been fighting this fight for a while.
Well, okay, this
So-
is the first time that I'm actually hearing that I shouldn't be using this verbiage, so I can change it if you'd like
I just was
to.
wondering where it came from, and I just wanted that to be on record.
If anybody has a suggestion on how we can word that instead of Murder Grove.
Just
east,
find a mile-
west,
just
I'm
find a
not
mile
sure how
marker.
to...
Yeah, maybe a mile marker. because
Get a mile marker from Myrtle Grove.
And I mean, it sounds petty, but you have to understand where my questions is coming from. When he was talking about when he was talking about positioning the courthouse almost directly across from Ironton, it was saying south of Myrtle Grove.
Okay.
I
I'm
mean,
not on the
north of
public
Myrtle
works
Grove.
side of that, and
You know,
so I
so-
don't know what other verbiage is being used elsewhere. My
Okay.
intent was not to call out any individual community in this
Okay. All right.
resolution.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Machine is open on the resolution.
That was the easy one. Wait.
And the resolution is granted 9-0.
Okay,
Brenda, next one.
I have two more.
Okay.
A resolution authorizing acceptance of bids for furnishing chemicals for a period of 1 year by use of the Water Sewer Department. After due advertisements, bids were received November 15th from the following: Brentag Southwest of Lancaster, Texas, DPC Enterprises of Reserve, GEC Specialty of Arkansas, Harcross Chemicals of St. Gabriel, Polydon of Georgia, Thornton, Musso and Bellaman out of Zachary, Chemwright of Georgia, and Univor of Washington. Mr. Robert Morgan, the superintendent of ST, recommends the acceptance of the low bid for Brentag on items 4, 5, and 6, the low bid of DPC for items 8 and 9, the low bid of Chemwright for items 13 and 14, the low bid of Polydon for items 1, 2, 10, 11, and 12, and the low bid of Thornton for item number 3. Item number 7's bid was withdrawn by the vendor for lack of including the freight in his cost.
Thank you, Ms. Brenda. There's an offer of resolution for chemicals on the table. Can I get a second? Second by Ms. Salvant. Any questions? Audience?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Juno?
I thought 7 Trent was going to pay for the chemicals this year. We still paying for them?
All I know, I don't know about the chemical, the ST contract. I know that it was in place, and this is just my yearly contract that I have on file for them to purchase off of. If y'all change their contract, then obviously I wouldn't buy their chemical.
Any other questions? Mr. Henry?
You know I gotta ask Cole.
Cost?
Yes, ma'am.
I know that
I know.
you're going to be here, and I
You know
should
it's
bring the
coming.
cost
You
every
know it's
time, and I
coming.
never think to do that. Cost has definitely varied over the past couple of years. Does anybody want to elaborate on what we're paying in chemical? We can look it up for you and get it back to you. I know it's negotiated in the contract that we write with ST. I don't know, we don't have anyone here from our legal team that is negotiating that contract. Is any of the council members privy to that contract or administration?
We'd have to get back to you.
Yeah, and my second question is, since the water fund has become a self-sufficient fund, would this come out of the general fund, or would this come out of the water fund?
This comes out of the water fund, 441.
All
I
right.
can tell you that it's in excess over $100,000 in chemicals, if that helps satisfy your curiosity.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I would just comment that it's my understanding that the contract that was negotiated previously provided that we have to pay for the chemicals.
Correct.
Now,
That's my
we used to have a contract where they paid for the chemicals, and it was changed, is my understanding.
That's my understanding as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Machine is open. And the resolution is granted 9-0.
And last but not
2C.
least, a resolution authorizing acceptance of bids for furnishing rollout waste containers for a period of 1 use for parish-wide use. Whereas due advertisements bids were received November 15th from the following: Odo Environmental out of North Carolina, Breheg Pacific out of California, and Toda out of North Carolina. Mr. Scott Roussel, Superintendent, recommends the rejection of the injection molded can and the acceptance of the bid of Toda, which meets all specifications advertised, including the rotational molding process of the can.
I'll offer this resolution. Ask for a second.
I second it, and I go along with Mr. Russo, because he has all the parts for the ones that we use now, and the one that had the lower bid of $1, it's a lot harder can, and if they drop it, it'll crack, and he would have to buy all the parts for the newer can, and it's not as good as the older can. That's all I can say.
And I think we have some show and tell today in the back, and
If
the black can is the existing can that we have, correct? And the
Correct.
blue
Mr.
can would be the new
Mr.
can?
Chairman, just
Correct.
for the purpose of the community, I would suggest that someone roll the cans out where we can have.
Can you roll, Mr. Russo, can you roll them up front so we can just get a visual? Brenda, you look good doing that. Okay. All right. Vanna White, would you roll it around, please? Okay. All right. No. Okay, Mr. Russo, just for a quick description, the black can is our existing can that we buy now, correct? And that can is cheaper than the blue can, correct?
No, it's $1.
More? And this is the can that you're recommending for us today? Oh, you want to stay with this one?
This can is cheaper, but it is harder plastic. The wheels are an issue to remove, and so is the top. We have the pieces and parts to put these back together. We would have to up our inventory to include those pieces and parts to repair those as later.
Okay.
Would be the fourth different style can.
And this is the can. How long we been having this can?
Well, we started off with this can when it first started with automated, and after Katrina, we could only get a Maricopa shaper because we need a large amount of cane. So they shipped that. And then we went back in 2009 and started getting the bids on the solar can. This can's more flexible. This is rotation.
Go to the mic so you can be on television. Go to the mic. Go to the mic.
I could hear you, but go ahead. So,
No.
Go ahead.
go ahead. I mean, just,
The can is a rotationally molded can. It's a more flexible can. The blue can on the side is injected. It's harder. During the wintertime, like we're going to have tomorrow, we'll have a lot more cans like this bust, which are the same as like a Maricopa and Schaefer. We started getting these in 2009, and at the very beginning with the automated trucks. Our trucks work better with this. This is a shorter, fatter can. We would squeeze that can a lot more with the arms that we have on the trucks. That's the style we have.
and
No.
do we have a limited amount of cans? Are we up on cans right now? People,
We got a can order already ordered. We should be waiting for them to get in right now in 2016.
okay.
We called them the other day. They should be in the process of delivering right now.
Any other question? Wait.
Some people have this can since the very beginning. That's what, when the first automated truck is in 2001, 2, I believe it was. We have some cans like that are still in place.
I have one.
So even if we went to this can, we couldn't even use the wheels or the pieces to,
No,
No.
every can is different. If we go to that can, we'd have to go to 4 different styles. We'd have to buy different shafts, different wheels, different everything.
okay.
And we have all the material for these, and we barely replace anything, maybe the lid.
Right.
Right. Okay. All right. Is there any other questions from the table? Can you get the blue can?
That's up to y'all. We'll add it to your water bill. We'll add it to your water bill.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
so
get
the
a
rec-
new can.
So our recommendation is for this.
Go back with the black can.
Yes, sir.
Okay? That's, the resolution is set for the black
I
can.
second it.
And it was second. Any other questions before I open the machine? Thank you, guys. Machine is open. And the black can wins 9-0.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Brenda. We'll move to item 3, beer and liquor license. Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes, I have two. Gary Bartholomew, Who That Bar, at P.O. Box 174, Point LaHatch, Louisiana. Address of buildings, 17059 Highway 15, Davent, Louisiana. Route C. Beshel. .135 Colonial Road, Belle Chase, Louisiana. We got people from Belle Chase. That's your neighbor.
Right next to me.
I think this has to do with the Point LaHatch Marina,
Marina.
the yard and back that they have at the Point LaHatch. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Black?
None.
Thank you. Mr. Juneau?
Yes, I have three. I'm just making sure. Okay, the Cypress Bar, location 9338 Belchas Highway. Little G's Cajun Restaurant, location 9338 Highway 23. Louisiana 23 Barbecue, location 9661 Highway 23. That'll be all.
Thank you. Mr. Russo?
Yes, I have Zydeco's Restaurant, liquor class A10, located at 710 Highway 23 in Belle Chase.
Thank you. I have 3. Illustrious Food Center, 7902 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Town View Cafe, 7918 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. And I have J&J Mart, 7812 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Mr. Burt, thank you. Mr. Salvan?
Yes, sir, I have many. Freeman Food Mart, 26277 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. Gilbo's Deli, LLC, P.O. Box 6628564A, Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. Gilbo Inc., P.O. Box 6628564, Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. Myrtle Grove Marina, P.O. Box 531, Belle Chase, Louisiana, 737. Location 161 Marina Road, Myrtle Grove, Louisiana. The G-Spot Daiquiris, P.O. Box 324, Port Sulphur, Louisiana, 113 Edema Lane, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. B&C Ventures, Inc., better known as Myrtle Grove Bar, 17509 Highway 23, Myrtle Grove, Louisiana. Le Cafe Casa, Inc., P.O. Box 493, Port Sulphur, Louisiana, 26145 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. Cajun Kitchen, 105 Camellia Drive, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. And that does it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Salvan. Mr. Edgecombe?
I got one.
One.
The Blue Canal Marina, Delta Marina, 317 Rosemary Drive, Empire.
And Miss Williams, bring it up to read. How many?
I only have 4 this time.
All right.
Elsie Marine and Hardware, Venice, Louisiana. I don't have a physical address. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. 42991 Highway 23 South, Venice. China Sea Restaurant, 111 Crane Drive, Suite C, Buras. Joshua's Marina, Inc., 309 Buras Boat Harbor Road, Buras. And Lucky Food Store, 111 Crane Drive, Suite A, Buras.
Thank you. We'll take all the permits in global, and I'll ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Any questions? Machines open on the alcohol permits? They are granted 9-0. Move to 4A, building. Before we move to them, is any objection taking these 4 in global, or 1 through 4? Huh? Yeah. If you take 1 through 4 in global, is there any objection? All right, Ms. Barber, will you read 1 through 4?
Number one, the Louisiana Fruit Company, application number 2016-950, dated November 8, 2016, install 4 40-foot wooden pilings for a water pump stand and water pump, McDermott Road, Venice, Councilmember Williams. Number two, Whitney Oil and Gas LLC, application number 2016-953, dated November 9, 2016. Dredge existing canal and work over the SL 1008B well number 59, South Pass Area Block 24, Councilmember Williams. Hillcore Energy Company, application number 2016-968, dated November 16, 2016. Install 6-inch flow line and 6-inch gas lift line, Southwest Pass Area, Councilmember Williams. Hellas Oil and Gas Company, LLC, application number 2016-797, dated September 15, 2016. Install up to 350 sandbags to serve as a wave break and prevent future eroding shoreline of Stone Island, Black Bay Field, Councilmember Bartholomew.
Ms. Barbara, will you read number 5, too? We'll take that in global, too.
Number 5, Wapiti Energy LLC, application number 2016-705, dated August 15, 2016. Wheel wash, install pile clusters, drill the SL 21675 well number 001, and install keyway injection well location, wellhead protector, and 6-inch pipeline. Councilmember Bartholomew.
There's been an offer of the construction permits 1 through 5 in global.
I'll offer.
Offered by Ms. Williams. Second by Ms. Bartholomew. Okay. Yes, sir.
Mr. Dugas, is it a problem with the wheel wash going to cause us any problem? Number 5, item 5. That's all the question. Because I know it doesn't line up.
Typically, the wheel washing is just to help dredge material to deepen the channel a little bit to allow the vessels to get in and out.
So it's not the product of creating a new, destroying new property, marshland that's been built up and anything.
I'd have to look at the permit and see what the intent was, but other than that, typically these are not damaging.
That area is toward Barataria Bay. Actually, that permit should be on the, in District 8.
Your district?
Yes.
Why you insist?
It's fine, sir.
All right.
You don't have a problem with it? Good.
Any other questions on the construction permit? Present, not voting. Mr. Burt will be present, not voting. Machines open?
All right.
And the permits are granted 7 with abstention from District 2.
All right.
We'll move to item 4B.
Jacques Toussaint Office Trailer, Law Office in A-2 Zoning District 100, Double B Lane, Point Lahash, Louisiana. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Offer. I ask for a second. Second by Mr. Juneau. Ready to go? Okay. Any questions? Machines open. And the permit's granted 9-0. Move to 4C.
Donald Durr, Ducks Fireworks, Fireworks Stand Renewal, relocating from 4167 English Turn, 9127 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Juneau.
Juneau, you offering? Second. Offer as is. Any questions? Machines open. Okay, we clear them? Okay, machines open. Granted 9-0. Move to 4D.
Daniel Romero, Primo Fireworks, Fireworks Stand Renewal, 7650 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Roussel.
Russo?
I'll offer.
Offer, I'll second. Any questions? Machines open. Granted 9-0. Move to 4E.
Cypress Cove Peninsula Townhomes, new residents in a floodplain, 250 Cypress Point Road, Venice, Louisiana. Councilmember Williams.
Ms. Williams, you offering?
I do offer. I just,
Second by Mr. Edgecombe.
Mr. Metcalf, everything's good to go on this right here? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Machine's open. It's granted 9-0. Move to 4F.
Dana King Jr. Storage Building in a floodplain 21006 Highway 23, Point Celeste, Louisiana. Councilmember Trufant Salvan.
Ms. Alvan, you offering?
Offer as read.
Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Any questions?
Mr. Metcalf, you good to go?
Fine. Just like Councilmember Williams, it's development in a FP floodplain and according to the zoning ordinance, so it needs council approval. It's development in an FP zoning. Everything's good and ready to go.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Machine is open. Granted 9-0. Move to item 5, introductions. Mr. Bartholomew.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 general fund manpower structure and operating expenditure budget, drainage, stock shop department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Black.
Resolution to approve a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Plaquemines Parish Government, PPG, the Plaquemines Parish Law Enforcement District, PPLED, the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, PPHTD, to lease a certain portion of ground within the Plaquemines Parish Government Complex located at 333 F. Edward A. Bear Boulevard, Dulces, Louisiana, approximately 4.772 acres, further illustrated in Exhibit A, to the PPLED for a term of 99 years for $1 a year, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all.
That's it. Mr. Juneau.
Yes, I have two. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan for the Avenue F land acquisition project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to establish a 2-year moratorium prohibiting the issuance of any permit, including pending applications for the construction and/or operation of any new fireworks stands located in Districts 2, 3, 4, and 5, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Thank you. Russo.
Let's have an ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the Coastal Protection Restoration Authority Board of Louisiana, CPRA, West Bank Levee District, the Plaquemines Parish, and Plaquemines Parish Government to appropriate temporary work area easements in certain portions of lands in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to extend the construction time for the West Bank and vicinity Mississippi River Levee, Mississippi River and Tributaries Project, Hurricane and Storm Damage Risk Reduction System, Resilient Features, Augusta to Oakville, WVV MRL 1.2B baseline stations, 512 plus 002560 plus 40, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, project for Mississippi River levee flood and hurricane protection purposes and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all.
F3, a resolution authorizing signatures for accounts on Plaquemines Parish Government with region banks and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution to authorize signatures on the parish checking account at Regions Bank for Coastal Zone Management Program titled Plaquemines Parish Wetlands Conservation and Restoration Fund, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing representatives of Plaquemines Parish Government to invest funds in Plaquemines Parish Government, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing Plaquemines Parish Community Action Agency to prepare and file an application with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development on behalf of the Plaquemines Parish Government for a grant under 49 CFR 5311 Non-Urbanized Area Formula Program and/or 49 CFR Discretionary Capital Program as amended to provide public rural transportation to the residents of Plaquemines Parish, and further authorizing Plaquemines Parish President to execute and file all such applications and assurance when any other documents required. That is all. Mr. Burke. Thank you. Ms. Alban.
Yes, I have one. An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of property of Manuel Walker Solis et al., Port Sulphur, Parish of Plaquemine, into lots S1, S2, S3, S4, and Track A. Walker Solis Division, Port Sulphur, Louisiana, Plaquemines Parish, as shown on the plans, and plat of survey by Dufresne Survey and Engineering Incorporation dated March 30th, 2016. The owner having fulfilled all of the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
That all?
Thank you. That's it.
Mr. Edgecombe?
An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Budget, GIS Management, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance prohibiting guided duck hunts on Plaquemines Parish property and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
I have two. An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government, otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Public Awareness Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Move back to item 6A2.
An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of Teresa Tesovich et al., Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on a map of re-subdivision, Lot AT-2A into lots AT-2B and AT-2C, Glengarry Farms, Narren Plantation Subdivision, as shown on the plans and plat of survey by Dufresne Surveying and Engineering, Inc., dated November 16, 2015. The owner having fulfilled all of the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines without cost to Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Edgecombe, you offering?
Yes, sir.
Ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Williams. Mr. Edgecombe?
Offer is read, sir. This
Ready to
is
go?
subdivision of property. I think everything's in line, Mr. Metcalf.
Everything's
Okay,
ready.
thank you, sir.
Any questions? Machine is open. And the ordinance is granted 9-0. Move to 6A3.
An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of part of heirs of Joseph Hingle property, Empire, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, lots K-4, K-5, K-6, and C-2. Heirs of Joseph Hingle property, Empire, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the plans and plot of survey by Dufresne Survey and Engineering, Inc., dated January 13, 2016, revised August 30, 2016. The owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines without cost to Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Edgecombe, you offering?
Yes, sir.
Ask for a second. Second by Ms. Williams. Ready to go?
Yes, sir. Offer is read. Mr. Metcalf.
Okay. Any other question? Machine's open. And the ordinance is granted 9-0.
Thank you.
Move to 6A4.
An ordinance authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Recreation Department to allow non-parish residents to register and participate in all sports programs at a 200% increase over the parish resident fee in effect at the time of registration, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Ms. Williams?
Yes, I do.
I'll ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe.
This was just a recommendation from the Recreation Committee to allow non-parish residents to participate in our programs at a higher fee than the residents in order to bring money into the Recreation Department. I spoke with the three existing workflow coordinators, and all of them are in agreement with this ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the table?
Yeah, I'm going to vote for this because I talked to my representative, Mr. Carol Pons, and he suggested that it would be a good idea.
Yeah, that's where it came from, the Recreation Committee.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yep, I'm sorry.
Ms. Williams, do you see, what type of increase do you anticipate of being, so this is going to be parish-wide, right?
Yeah, it'll be parish-wide, but more than likely it would be on the northern end is where, there would be an increase. I do know that the Recreation Committee had some people interested in participating in soccer particularly. There was some children from surrounding areas. And I do know in the past we did allow non-residents to participate in our program. This is years back, because I spoke to some of the workflow coordinators that have been around for quite a while. And, they told me that non-residents were allowed to participate in the program previously. I don't know the numbers of the increase. I don't know how much of an influx, it's going to be. I'm just carrying out, this as a recommendation from the Recreation Committee.
I'm just wondering how much research have been done on this matter, because I know right now, all of the surrounding communities, you have to be a resident of that municipality in order to participate in any of their sporting events. So I'm just wondering, have anybody did due process on this for down the road? I'm not anti.
Right, I understand. I understand
But I'm
what you're
just
saying.
wondering how much a due process that has been done or looked into this matter. So whereas down the road, if we get a big influx
We'll be able to accommodate it.
Yeah, will it be accommodating, and will it be done fairly? And, because I know the schools have to have a problem. It's usually a problem for the schools. It's a problem for us. So I'm just throwing that question out there.
And I'll pass that on, any of us can pass that on to our Recreation Committee representatives for them to maybe, do some looking into this to make sure that it is a fit.
Because my thing is, just as you mentioned earlier, Ms. Williams, it's not going to be an impact on the southern end of the parish. If we're going to receive or allow outsiders to come into our parish and participate in recreation, it's going to, the northern part of the parish is going to be mostly impacted.
Or the East Bank from Chalmette and St. Bernard and, those
So
areas.
I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah, I just hope that we don't become the Curtis of our recreational program in areas, especially East Bank as well as the northern end, that become overpowering to the other kids that participate. And as long as we do it equitably, and not try to solicit the better players throughout it and do that kind of stuff.
I hope that that's not the
Yeah,
intent, sir,
I'm
right?
just saying
I agree.
because
I'm in agreement with
I
that.
hope that's not, and I hope it still stands.
I don't think it is the
The
intent.
philosophy of this, that let the kids play.
That's right.
And I hope that they still believe in that, we still operate by that.
You never know.
That's all.
That's it? Any other questions? Mr. Freeman?
Good afternoon, Council. Acting up until the end of this year as the Recreation Director, when I came on in March, we had a school board member approach us and advised us and told us that we had several kids on the baseball league that was registered in our program from outside the parish. They had used deception. They did not register with their addresses in Plaquemines Parish because they didn't live in Plaquemines Parish. They used someone else's address. So we had 35 players we took out of the program. They were living in Gretna and Algiers. When that came to our awareness, this is when we began to do the search. We implemented a proof of residency, and it started to eliminate some of that because what we were getting was complaints from parents about their child was sitting the bench and the child from outside the parish was being played ahead of them. I'm only bringing you the facts today. It will be up to y'all to make a decision. But I think if this is allowed to happen, this is probably one of the biggest travesties that has happened in the history of this parish. And the reason why, they have no council representation. None of y'all will be their representatives other than sitting on this board. They won't cover the referee fees, which you're trying to implement as an increase in costs. 100 kids at $75 will be $7,500. Our bill for officials from October 15th to November was $4,200. In order to put those children, 100 of them, in uniforms, it's going to cost you $150, only in pads and helmet, additional. Also, The rec department has to fill out an application with our insurance company every year to show the amount of children that are in each program. So that will go as a posting to your insurance, whoever it is. We will probably inquire a cost, and then you'll be dealing with non-resident children as far as filing suit against these parishes for damages. And I would only hope that wisdom and whatever's here, I give you the credit for it, that you make a decision not only to justify what you're going to get with 100 kids at $7,500, but what you're going to bring into our parish. I've been living here for 60-some odd years. I appreciate the way it's been done. I like the way it's been done. We've had some problems. We've tried to correct them. But the safety of Plaquemines Parish depends on this council and our police department. The closing game of football, we had a report that someone carried a gun onto the field in the area of the stands. They said they had a concealed permit. They never did prove it. The police department was supposed to get back with us. I have never heard anything yet, so I don't know what the outcome of that's going to be. But what you saw happen on the Rages Street the other day with road rage, we got our own constituents to contain with. When we start bringing outside influences, outside people into this parish with their children, you bring that problem with you. This all begun because of travel ball teams trying to bring in people from outside the parish, which we tried very hard to work with them. We gave them a percentage of the amount of people that they could have on a team and still be more than 50% compliant to Plaquemines Parish. We worked with every team. We implemented a system. But if we're talking about rec ball and recreation ball, now what you're doing is allowing somebody from outside the parish to come in. We investigated a lot of those folks that had residency and showed residency, and they turned in a cable bill from a certain area where they paid the cable bill in their name. They only have to pay the cable bill 1 month with a check to get a canceled check. So if you're going to use that as the requirement and relax the residency rules, I think what you're doing is putting a group of people that pay taxes in this parish. We also heard this morning about a water bill going up. That water bill that's going up, that's starting to cry from Mr. Bowe's area. We got some other areas that have high water bills too. So those people have paid increases. They ought to get the tax dollars spent on their children. The school is keeping them out. Why is the rec department going to let them in? If you're putting your credence on this committee, which was started for all the wrong reasons, I think it's a travesty. Now, I've given you the facts, your decision. Whatever y'all decide, y'all live with it. I know we got an election coming up. There's a decision that's got to be made. Somebody's going to make a decision. What are they going to base their decision on? So I only ask that y'all make the right decision. I thank you for your time, and I thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to serve this parish and keep the kids safe. And we have no reports where anybody got seriously hurt or injured or maimed, or no lawsuits were filed against the parish. And I'm very proud of that, so I thank y'all. God bless you.
Anyone else? Mr. Lawrence?
Yes. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes, I would like to respond to
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Salvin.
Okay, in response to Mr. Freeman, I think you had me on board until you referred to the incident that took place. I say I think you had my attention until you referred to the incident. I assume that you talked about that happened on Vernon. I'm assuming that's what you referred to it as a travesty, and I agree with you. But there was a greater travesty that took place, in my opinion, in the national election. I think it was a greater travesty that took place. So we're not going to sit here and throw personal opinions around here to build a case. And this is the reason I brought the issue up at the very beginning, because with your supervision, I know that was issues at the Belle Chase Park. There were issues, and there were kids that was on the outside that were permitted. There are kids that's being permitted to attend the schools in Belle Chase. And certain kids are permitted when others are not, that lives outside of the parish.
Yes, ma'am.
Based on different people who is in leadership. And this is the reason I brought it up, because I know where it's going to end. It's going to end in a travesty. And I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Mr. Lawrence?
Yes, Warren Lawrence. My experience has been, I've been a volunteer coach both in Plaquemine Parish and in New Orleans for over 30 years. And I think you're opening a can of worms here that you'll never be able to close. This is something, and what Mr. Freeman said, it's a travesty waiting to happen. This is something here where coaches tend to want to win too much. They bring in ringers from outside. If the name of the recreation department is Plaquemine Parish Recreation Department. If you don't live in Plaquemine Parish, you shouldn't be playing in the recreation department. If you don't live in Plaquemine Parish, you shouldn't be going to a Plaquemine Parish school. I just said, from my experience, we've seen teams have to forfeit all their games when I was in the NARD program because they brought in ringers, and this is the tendency of the coaches to want to win too much. I think you have a good system working, and I think you shouldn't take something that's not broke and try to fix it.
I just have one comment.
Okay. Ms. Williams?
This is not intended to bring in one team of elite players. The players will go in a pool with all other players, and they'll be pulled and selected, just like our process is going now. It's not about stacking a team, and I don't think that we should stereotype anyone. In particular, I like outsiders, saying that there are people all over who are good and who are bad. So the comments made that bringing in the riff draft and we're going to bring in problems, I don't agree with that. If we control what happens here, things will play out.
That Mr. Henry?
I coached Billy basketball for almost 10 years. I'm going to be honest with you. I hate to go against you, Ms. Williams, but as a coach, and if you coach, like Mr. Lawrence said, I play to win. Hey, can't play, don't come on my team. I'm going to be real with you. And that's the way a lot of coaches look at it. And I think you're opening up a can of worms, especially up in the Belshades area. You're going to get an influx of kids that are going to come there, and your kids going to probably be sitting on a bench. Most of you guys may not have kids playing recreation, but I can guarantee you, you're going to see an influx of kids coming there going to make you want to change your mind. Because I grew with Mr. Lawrence. As a coach, you playing to win. And if I could have got kids from Jefferson Parish to play on my team, because when I had my nephew Chris, I had a winning team. But I had 3 guys that played in Jefferson Parish. If I could have got them, they would come and play with me. They would come and play with me. But I'm just telling you, you're opening up a can of worms that really not going to satisfy the kids of Plaquemine for recreation.
Well, with all due respect, if you're a coach, you're going to build a team. You can
You
teach
look at it
children.
that way. You look at it that way. But you never.
This is just a recommendation from the committee.
I'm just
I mean,
saying.
we're going to vote on it, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, all I'm saying, you open up a can of worms, and the kids in Belshade going to be on the bench. I'm just telling you. But that's your decision.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Kendra Arneson. I appreciate the time to speak to y'all about this. I'm not a coach, and I'm not the director of your rec department, of course, but I am a mom. And my son does play both rec football and rec baseball. And I ensure my son's safety to this council and the parish and the rec department when I bring my child and my older child to the field for him to play. It does concern me when you're talking, and Nicole, with all due respect, you know I'm usually on your side on most things, but as a mom, it does concern me to bring in people from outside to play on our fields. I mean, I was at that game when my son was on the field, and Malachi hit another kid and hurt him, and I don't know who the parent was or where the parent was from. But I was sitting there when the parent come across the field and started screaming about going to get a gun.
That was someone
and
from
coming to shoot a
Belgate.
kid. Well, wherever he was from.
Just saying.
But how much of this can we police if we bring even more people? May I finish, please? May I finish?
Yeah, as soon as you're done, we're going to call a question.
Thank you. How can we possibly police more people if we can't even police the people from our own parish? I'm not saying that we can't. I'm asking you, if we bring more people from outside the parish in to play rec ball, how are we going to police the parents, the uncles, the aunts that come with those children? I don't think any of these kids are bad. I don't care what their zip code is. If just the kids could come, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But we see what's going on in the surrounding parishes on the news every single morning. How are we going to make sure that we ensure the safety if this ordinance passes? That's my only question.
I guess the way we ensure it now.
The sheriff's department did nothing when they came to the field that day. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I got a quick comment.
Yeah, I do. Go ahead.
I got a comment real quick. If I'm not mistaken, and I may be off a little bit, but I think our recreation numbers are far below what they've been in the past several years.
Okay, wait. Okay, we're not going to, hold on, Mr. Freeman. Mr. Black?
No, come on back up, Mr. Freeman. Because I want to get that figure, because that's the same question I was going to ask. I actually have a couple questions. It was a full board nomination from the Recreation Committee for this? Do you know? Or just, they just proposed it as a
They
resolution?
voted on it, and they wanted me, they vote on what's going to be
Right, so that
decided.
was
I
the
don't know what the vote was,
Okay.
but it passed their vote.
All right, thanks. The question I was going to, and I'm glad you brought up the number, because from what I understand and constituents that I speak to, a lot of people leave Plaquemines to go play outside, whether it be Mellard Park or whether it be PAC. So I'm asking you, what are the numbers? Has there been an increase?
There has been an increase on registration. And Mr. Bartholomew's council person that's been appointed to that board has not come to a meeting, and he has his own reasons. And there's another one, I think, that's dropping out. So the committee that was put together, when you look at it as a whole, I think there's some personal issues in there, why some personal things are being done. But all I would ask, whatever the decision that the council makes, that y'all take a verbal vote and not put it, I'd like to hear who votes, okay? I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to object to a verbal vote. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me when you can read it. But I will.
Why would you object to a verbal vote? We've done it before on many other things.
Well, you know why you do verbal votes.
I want the people of this parish to hear who votes yes and who votes no.
The vote will be read after the vote.
Okay, so we're not going to do any more verbal votes?
The vote will be read after the vote's cast.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
I mean, I do agree with my colleagues, Ms. Salvant and Ms. Williams. I mean, we can't sit up here and discriminate against people from Gretna or Terrytown or Algiers or places like that as if, we just want whatever. I don't know. It's, I'm voting for this because the Recreation Board, which I think is a good idea, recommended it, and that's why we did it, so.
You got a question?
A comment. I tend to think that it might have been a good idea, except after going through the budget hearing that we just went through. We all know that we subsidize recreation tremendously. That's why we cut so many people out of it, including the director, because we don't have the money to run the recreation program. And to think that by opening the door to a surrounding parish is going to solve that budget issue, I believe what it'll do is just make us subsidize the recreation program even further out of the general fund. So it's a financial issue to me, and while I do make the recommendation, I think that the Recreation Department is suffering enough without funding to be able to survive. So if we're going to load the wagon and not make them pay, and it's only going to be a small amount as to what we just said, I don't think that we're really solving the budget problem. And that's where I see the downfall. And it's not anything about discriminating against people from the other surrounding parishes coming in. It's a matter of how are we going to pay for them if we issue them a football uniform that costs us $150 and we don't get but $25 or $50 from them. We're just increasing the amount of subsidy that we're going to pay. So something to think about, and I don't mind telling you how I'm going to vote.
One comment too, and Mr. Black made a very good comment, is our residents too are allowed to go to Oakdale, are allowed to go to Gretna, so.
No,
when-
they're not.
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
Unless you're a travel team.
No. My neighbor plays in Gretna, yes, they do, and they are allowed to play in Gretna.
Yes, they are.
They pay a double amount or whatever, they are allowed to play.
And they purchase their own uniforms.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
We're the
it all-
only recreation
well, I
department
guess it
that
all
provides
depends
the
on what
equipment.
park you go to, because I know my son just tried to register my grandkids there, and they were told that they needed to be.
No, Gretna,
residents. So, okay, I'm only saying.
But I'm just,
experience.
but my point is, so our kids, or the kids of this community, are allowed to go to other places to play. So if we put a 200% increase here, why are we not allowing kids to come here? So I understand that. I understand both sides of the story. I really do. But I think it's, if it's a recommendation from the advisory committee who we put together, let's see where it goes. Okay?
You can
Maybe we
always
should have
change
the
it.
recreation, the committee to come before this council and state their position.
Okay. Mr.
I
Edwards.
have a question, Bob.
My concern, I just heard you, Mr. Lapine, and I just heard Mr. Black say you're baiting your vote on committee. I know last month, the zoning board came here and they recommended against, because I was the only person voting for that guy to head against, for the church, keeping his zoning. 8 people voted against me. When this thing came before this council, the council did not agree with it. I've seen other committees and boards that recommended the council not to do something. So I'm saying make your decision on other reasons, because if you make your decision on that, I promise you, I'm going to take every vote, look at every vote you've done and show you that you're not consistent in your argument. I'm saying come up with another argument, but I've seen both of you all not hold that argument about something that was much more germane to this community than what you're talking about now. I just want to remind you, both gentlemen, that I could just, that's one I witnessed just on a couple of weeks ago.
Let me just rebut that real quick, if you don't mind. Do you mind?
And I'm not taking any position, Mr. William, at all.
Because I know the vote was 8-1. I know you voted in favor for the zoning change. That was a totally different issue, because when it was presented to you guys for a zoning change, it was presented by Terry Bell. That's who did the petition. With no, let me just finish. No, can I just finish? Can I finish? It was presented by Mr. Terry Bell for the zoning change. Never provided the zoning board with what they were going to do with the rezoning. Okay? We were going to vote against it. We never were going to approve it until a new person came in and said, I'm purchasing it, and this is what I'm putting in it. So it changed the whole dynamic of what you guys voted on. When you guys voted 8-1 to deny it, it was based on his application and you guys not knowing what he was going to do. When the new owner came to us with the same petition for us to make a vote on it, he told us what he was going to do, who was buying it, so it's a totally different thing. It wasn't not taking the recommendation of the zoning board, because
Let me just say this, because you're being too psychic, right? Because you can't tell me what went into my mind when I voted that night, and I don't think you could talk with it. And the other question, were you at the meeting, and do you know all the particulars on who voted and was the argument at the meeting with the Recreation Committee? So do you have that information?
No.
See what I'm saying? So I'm saying here you trying to give me an argument about opposite, and I just brought that up as an example. I'm not being no sour grape on what happened on the zoning board. I'm just showing an example that how you, Mr. Bean, going to make that decision. You're being inconsistent, and your argument right now you're making you more inconsistent, because you're talking about all went on there, and you don't know who voted, who attended that meeting on the vote that you. I'm just saying, be clear on that. I don't even think that's something for you to even defend. I'm just saying, be conscious of what you're saying.
When you accuse me of being inconsistent, and it's totally inaccurate, because this is two separate issues.
Okay, but we get.
Can we call the question, please?
Okay. All right. Ms. Williams, you want to call the question? The machine is open. On 684? 684. And the ordinance passes with 7 yeses from District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4, District 6, District 7, and District 9, and a no vote from District 5, and an abstention from District 7. I'm sorry, I said yes. District 8 voted yes. I apologize, Mr. We'll move to 6B.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the various projects and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Black. Mr. Surpass, would you take this? Is this housekeeping or closing this out? Wait, pass the microphone down to you.
This is just to clear up some projects that we have that have some negative balances right now before the end of the year for financial administration costs like bank service charges. One of them had to do with bond issuance costs that came in much higher, and we're just getting around to cleaning that up.
So this is just close out.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes, would you state the time of this, from what year to where we are now? This happened, I think, 13, applied back then,
Yeah.
so we have a carryover from 2013.
Okay.
What? This is from 2013?
It's actually, these projects are balanced by the fund, so they carry over as long as they still have balances in the fund, but we're just trying to clean up the projects itself within the funds.
Okay. Any other questions? Audience? Machine's open on 6B.
I'm still trying to understand this. Could I get a clear, Mr. Black just confused me completely. Told me I was voting on something
clear the
that I
board?
never dreamed of, so could you explain to me?
I think he's voting on Mr. Nungas's project.
Mr.
I just want to make sure that he's, just,
These are all like bond funds, so like one's the courthouse. So you had the financial administration that we charge the issuance costs and the bank service charges to, and then you have the project in that fund too. All the money got put into the project for the courthouse. So now that this one kind of went over with the issuance costs and the bank service charges, we're just trying to move some money from the courthouse project to the financial administration of it.
So this is coming out of the courthouse funds?
Most of it, yeah.
That helps me clear up. So this is coming out of the courthouse funds to pay for financial administration of the levee, the West First Street Canal,
It's all different bonds,
and the financial administration?
and one's a grant fund.
So the cash is, or the money is there in the East Bank levee project. That's where that $8,000 is coming from? And the West First Street Canal, $20,000. I thought we had closed that project out. And you're saying that $20,000 is coming from where to pay that?
That one is coming from fund balance. It's going to reduce the transfer that they had to the general fund,
So this is going to reduce the unreserved undesignated fund balance?
in the general fund, that one. But we
I
have
think-
2 other ordinances that's going to make that up, the next 2 ordinances.
Okay, so the courthouse is coming out of the courthouse fund, but the
Right.
West First Street Canal is coming out of unreserved undesignated fund balance. The East
That
Bank-
one and the Ike and Gustav, the 3,000.
When he's finished.
Okay. That clears it up for me. At least I know where the money's coming from.
Okay.
Mr. Valano?
The other concern I have was that we are paying Regions Bank a fee to handle and bond our bonds.
That's correct.
And that's the only thing, I've never seen it before. But that was negotiated for the past administration.
That's correct.
So to me, this is another poor financial decision that we're experiencing that we've never experienced before. And I'm not campaigning because I'm not running anymore. This is a fact and a statement that should be realized by a lot of people.
Right. And it's a paying agent fee you have to pay for them to service the bonds, and that's just the way it was set up.
That's on all bonds.
Yeah. This was set up differently than the other bonds, though, I will tell you that.
So, Mr. Black, to let you know that this was an irresponsible act and done uncommonly as to the history of this parish and cost us a lot of money today.
No. We pay an agent fees on all bonds, not just the courthouse one. On the older ones, too. It's not as much, but we do pay an annual an agent maintenance fee.
However, this is one of the most expensive ones we've ever had in the history of this parish. Is that correct?
Done differently, yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Tommy. Michelle?
It's $4,000 a year.
I think it's $4,000 a year, yeah, for the bond.
All right, any more questions? Machines open.
You can give me nothing, Bo.
And it's granted 9-0. Move to item 6C.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 operating expenditure budget, various funds, various departments, various line items, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer with changes, and the changes passed out. Everyone gets one?
Where was the summaries we had?
I'll offer with all the changes that are included. And I'll ask for a second. Second by Ms. Williams. Tommy or Rochelle, can you explain this one?
I can explain it. Well, basically, what this is I think I talked to you about this before. This, at the end of every year, we try to clean up the budgets in each one of the personal services section of the of all the departments. As you know, this year we had a lot of payouts of annual leave because of layoffs. A lot of people quit. We also had the levy breach, which took a lot of overtime in a lot of departments. We had the High River, and there was also a lot of overtime into that. So what we have to do at the end of the year, we look at each department and see if they're going to go over in the personal services section. If that's the case, we look at each one. Some of them go over, some of them have money left over. So we just switch your money around here. In the end, this is
17,000 to the good.
right. You'll be 17,000 to the good in the personal services section. If you look on page 2, on the second page, down in section 2, you see there's 3 other lines. These are lines that we cover in budgets that are having problems before the end of the year that are probably going to go over. The ordinances of proceedings, it was a $10,000 we increase in there. Self-insurance, we're taking $25,000 out, and we had additional funding there. I'm also putting $227,000 in the department for the levy breach. Now, that money you're going to see on the next ordinance that you're going to see is going to be a revenue that's coming in from GOSEP to cover that $200,000. So if you take all of these two in, let's see, C and D together, you're actually going to increase the fund balance. I don't know if that helps you explain it, but it's a cleanup thing is what we're doing basically. We do this at the end of every year.
So just to clarify, because I stayed up till midnight reading this, trying to make sure I understood it to prepare myself for this meeting today. And the only change in here is the financial administration increased by $25,000, and the second page is the disaster levy breach from the original that was introduced.
Yes, we realized that unemployment, we needed to put more money in unemployment, and that's the $25,000 for financial administration.
Okay.
Right.
That's the only changes from the introduction.
Oh, from the original, yes.
Yeah,
from the original.
because, I studied the original, and they're hitting with me the substitute today, and,
Yeah.
I want to make sure I understand it thoroughly.
All right.
Thank you.
Glad.
Anyone else from the table? Audience. Machines open on 6C. And the ordinance is granted 9-0. Move to 6D.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 operating revenue budget, various funds, various departments, various line items, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer with changes. The changes are being passed out. With these changes, I'll ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Tommy, can you explain this?
Yes, sir. This is the one I just I mentioned about the levy breach. This is the revenue side of it. This is the money we're going to actually receive from the federal government for the levy grant. You're right, for the levy breach. They're paying us for this. So actually, and you can see the $242,000 is actually more than the expenses that we increased. So you're actually going to have roughly $30,000 to the good.
Okay. Any questions from the table? Audience? Machine's open on 6D. It's been granted 9-0. Move to 6E.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 five-year capital improvements plan, various projects, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer with changes, and the changes are being passed out. With those changes, I'll ask for a second. I'll ask for a second. Second by Mr. Black. Tommy, would you explain this?
We were asked to bring this before you to. This is for a generator project for Building 102. The generators now be putting in for Building 100. What we've done is there's a grant for the total grant is $173,000. Our share is around $75,000. What we've done is we've looked at all the departments that share in that building, and we've gone through each one of those budgets and taken out some of the funds so that we can at least get the match to this grant. A generator for that building is very necessary. We have the servers there. If we do have a hurricane or we have an outage, there's no way we can do the payroll. And we can't do payroll. We can't write checks. We can't do any of that stuff. We won't be able to get to our computer system. So that's why we're asking for this. I mean, this is just a suggestion. If it's something y'all don't feel comfortable doing, that's fine. But I think it's a necessary thing for that building to have a generator.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes, I don't have a problem with that, but I would just ask that administration get the grant department to see whenever possible a grant becomes available for this facility, because we do house the council meetings here, and we also have this as a shelter for bad weather when 35, 40, 50 miles an hour wind come. People who lives in trailers decide to come in this facility to use it to get just out of the shelter, out of the bad weather. So when the power surge, I mean, they can still maintain this facility. So ask the grant department to look into that. And it's put it the way it can be movable, not going to be permanent, because all our utilities are downstairs. Whenever weather threatens for storm evacuation, we will, of course, take this thing and move it north, wherever the place is, would become safe. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Any other questions from the table? Anybody? The machine is open on 6E. And it's granted 9-0. Move to 6I.
An ordinance to authorize development of engineering plan specifications and permit applications for the closure of Mardi Gras Pass, to authorize Newell Engineering, LLC, to provide engineering services for the project and to appropriate funds for implementation of engineering work pursuant thereto.
Ms. Bartholomew, you offering?
Yes, sir. Offer.
I'll second it.
Thank you. What I'm asking is just what it says, but we have to understand what we're trying to bring back to the fishermen in Plaquemine Parish. the seeding of oysters, especially where the oyster used to grow on the East Bank, provided seeds throughout this whole region for the fishermen, and that no longer exists because of Mardi Gras Pass. And all we're asking, if you vote and approve this, to give us the opportunity to submit an application to the Corps of Engineers only. There's nothing else that we're asking at this time for any other funding. We're just asking that we complete the application and submit it to the Corps of Engineers for closure or rehabilitate it.
Okay. Any
Yes.
questions, Mr.?
Mr. Bartholomew, that's for regular land, that's not private land, am I right?
Well, we sprayed orange trees, Mr. Juno. Took 50,000, 60,000 sprayed orange trees. That was private land, right? Did we not do that from this council? Did we not spray orange trees?
Yes, sir.
That's private land, right?
Right, sir.
All right. Now, I'm not asking for private land. I'm just asking that we reinstate what was lost
I
for this
agree.
parish. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I'm with you with that.
Now, the land that was used was bought between the parish, the state, and if I'm not mistaken, Wildlife and Fisheries. And it exceeded the amount that they had taken. So now the question comes to mind, liability. Since we exceeded more than what we paid for, who's liable? Who built it? Who has to pay for it? So we're not getting to that. We don't want that. So we're just trying to get to the point that we can say that we are honestly trying to get the Corps of Engineers to give us a way out of this, and if they decide not to give us the permit to close, then with the assistance of St. Bernard Parish and the Wildlife and Fisheries, action will be followed. And I'm not asking for any more money from this council, just to give us the right to file this application.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so this will be the final
Well, all I'm asking for this activity. Anything else to come after, it has to come back before this council.
No, so, I mean, you're not going to get us into constructing the closure.
No, if I do come in action, if I have to. But what I'm saying, if they're saying that all three parties have to be a part of this, I will let you know. But I'm not asking us at this point in time to take any credibility of being responsible for any other activity.
This is a tough situation because, I understand that Mardi Gras Pass is being blamed for destruction of the East Bank. We've had this discussion before. I don't want this to turn into a multi-$100,000 project that we can't afford. So if we go strictly for the application and somebody's going to pay, like the person that owns the property where the breach is, or if they're going to participate to try to close it with the Corps or something like that, if that's the direction we're going, then I don't have a problem with going forward with the $30,000 to get the ball rolling. But
that is the direction I'm
but
and I'm not supporting that this council get involved with any other funding, because we don't have any funding. We can't do that. And the only reason why I'm doing it because it's in our parish. The only reason. That's all. Thank you.
Well, let me ask you this. The person that's going to file the application, are you going to get the landowner's approval to file the application for them, or are you filing it for us?
I'm filing for the people of Plaquemine Parish, the oyster fishermen's on behalf of the oyster fishermen in Plaquemine Parish, to stop the fresh water from going in so that we can rebuild what was destroyed. And I don't think it was destroyed by naturally. It was destroyed by man-made when we opened that darn thing. And it was open, which I have no proof of it, but I can see where it was open, for the BP oil spill to hopefully it kept the oil out of coming in. And then it just exploded. Now, why did it explode on the southern side, not where the salinity control device was? It didn't explode there.
Well, the factors that created it, I'm not questioning. What I am asking is that we are filing an application on somebody's property to do some work. Whose property are we filing the application on? Are we filing on behalf of some private landowner, or are we filing it under somebody else's name?
We're requesting the closure of Mardi Gras Pass based on the 1962 legislation act that was followed and appropriated the funds to expropriate the land.
Look, I'm not going to belabor the point, but the fact of the matter is that the breach is not on Plaquemines Parish's land. So we are filing an application on somebody's land
we
to
can-
get work done. And I'm just asking, whose land are we filing the application on? And whose permission are we going to have when we put the application in? Does anybody have the answer to the question? If not, then I'm belaboring the point, we can move on.
Yeah, I mean, I would ask the administration, has legal opined on this and gave us a determination on whether that's...
They have not made a ruling. They bring the same question. It's private property.
I mean, so how can we appropriate taxpayer money? I understand what Mr. Bartholomew is saying, but Mr. Russo makes a valid point. The questions I have is, who's Newell Engineering, where did that name come from in this preamble, and where did this legislation originate? Is it
originated from a concern of the fishermen. It originated when we, as a council, first had a meeting and adopted a resolution to close Mardi Gras Pass 9-0 by legislation. Now, the thing remains that what I'm asking is that we could close because it's not being controlled. Now, the question is, do you want to have the device back into operation to control it? Then that's some serious, brother, what you talk about then.
I mean, I'm asking...
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Now, all this stuff we're talking about, we ain't never talk about any other issues. Now revert back to the spraying on these orange trees. We never asked all these questions about this and that, millions and millions of dollars.
I've been spraying orange trees sometimes, so I'm consistent here with private property.
Wait a minute,
Let me finish. All I'm saying is that it wasn't a big time issues, and we decided to do that to the benefit of that industry, which I don't have a problem with. I voted for that, but it's for that industry, and it's a private industry, and it wasn't a parish industry. But what I'm asking is that we have to at least submit the application to the Corps of Engineers, asking them permission to close. Then once that happens, then hopefully they'll put up the money to close it. May see fit to close it, because we don't have any money to close it. But the question was that they never received an application from Plaquemine Parish. The Corps never received an application.
And, you know, that's a good standoff for the Corps, because they've told us numerous times that they're not closing it. But I'm going back to the original question. Are we filing an application? Are we going to have to get some private property owner permission on the application? Because on the application, it's going to say the property owner. So whose name are we going to put on the application?
Plaquemine Parish government.
And we don't own it.
So we don't own it. We paid for it.
You know.
Yes, you did.
John, I'm willing to venture for $30,000. I just want to know the answer to that question because
well, it's just the parish property. We bought
it's not parish property.
Who is it for? We expropriated.
No.
Why not?
Because the breach is south
I
of
ain't talking about the breach. The breach got to pass to where the land we own. The breach took place on an angle. It did this. And the land we own is here. The breach is here. Exactly. So if we close this off, that's nothing going to happen there.
The structure's in
I'm talking about what the structure is.
Intact.
Yeah, but the structure is. We closed that off. But the structure is.
The structure is still intact.
No, the structure is not. The covers are there. It's not operable.
But it's intact. And we're arguing about something.
I'm arguing to close the siphon that's dug, not no breach where it broke or breached that. I'm not asking that.
Okay. Any other questions from the table? Audience? Yep. Come up to the mic, please.
My name is Richie Blink, 1918 Highway 23, Buras, Louisiana. I'd like to start by first mentioning that while yes, Mardi Gras Pass is impacting the commercial fishing fleet in Point LaHash, it's also filling in many bayous and bays, and there's some vegetation that's actually starting to establish itself in places that have been open water. Plaquemines Parish, as well as the state of Louisiana, has a land loss crisis as well as a financial crisis. If we decide to close in Mardi Gras Pass, it may send a bad message to the feds when they decide that they want to spend coastal restoration money in Plaquemines Parish. Also, in my dealings with the Corps, they've mentioned that it's taking less than 1% of the flow of the river, so it's not a concern to them at this point in time. In addition to those things that I just mentioned, there's also other cuts that are forming south of Mardi Gras Pass as we speak, and that will continue to happen as the river is rising over the winter. And so that's going to be like whack-a-mole. There's going to be just continuous cuts popping up south of that area. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question on line 24. It says, whereas Newell Engineering LLC has assisted with Plaquemines Parish government in development of a program for closing the new channel formed in 2011, restoring. What has Newell Engineering assisted Plaquemines Parish government with? Who's paid Newell Engineering? Have we paid them for some service? Who is this?
What do you speak, service of what? What kind of service?
Okay, on line 24, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth whereas. It says, whereas Newell Engineering, we're actually doing an ordinance to give Newell Engineering money, it sounds like. Whereas Newell Engineering LLC has assisted the Plaquemines Parish government in development of a program for closing the new channel formed in 2011 and restoring salinity control. My question is what exactly have they done to assist Plaquemines Parish government, and what is the program that they are developing? I don't know who Newell Engineering is.
Mr. New, wait, hold on, Mr. Vince. Let him speak a minute. Come on up, Frank.
I'm Frank Newell. I'm civil engineer, land surveyor with Newell Engineering. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a civil engineer, land surveyor, consultant. I've worked in Plaquemines Parish for many years on various projects. A brief introduction. First project I did was with Walker and Avery. In the 80s, I did the boundary survey of Fort Jackson.
I thank you for your bona fides. My question is, has Plaquemines Parish government paid you anything for any services in the six whereas, and have you assisted the government? Have you been paid to assist the government in development of a program? And
No,
what program is this?
I've not been paid, but I have worked with the government to develop a program.
Who in the government? The administration, individual?
Yeah, I was asked by the Councilman Bartholomew. He was concerned about Mardi Gras Pass. So I did some leg work. I met with Mr. Freelich with the administration and discussed the history of the pass. I talked with Robert Spears in the land department, GIS. We went and looked at it. Basically, as I understand it,
So this is just free services that you provided?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you're not on a retainer or anything?
No, sir.
Okay, is this $30,000 for Mr. Newell to continue with this program? Is that going to be bid out, or quoted?
There's professional services.
So we just use professional services just to go?
What I would do is develop, to give a little history, as I understand the pass. It was constructed jointly in the Bohemia Spillway. I have some aerials that could show this if y'all would like to see it. Jointly by the parish and the state in the 60s or the 70s. As I understand it, the High River in 2011 washed out. It's a series of culverts that was meant to put fresh water in the marsh on a controlled basis. A channel was dug from the river to the back canal. When the river got up high in 2011, it's my understanding that it washed out around this structure. The washout probably wouldn't have occurred without the canal there. After that washout, it's continued to grow, the diversion. The councilman is concerned about fresh water being in the marsh. I understand that that is an issue in Carnarvon. You had a freshwater diversion when it ran, it was doing good, but when the salinity comes up the river and gets out into the marsh, it destroys the freshwater marsh being created by the fresh water, and then you end up with it worse off. So I believe there are concerns about the fresh water coming in both from the fishermen and the marsh restoration standpoint. The parish believes, or the discussions I've had, it's a good idea to apply for the permit. I've heard that there's a couple things that I believe the parish should do to address the issue. One, figure out how you want to close it, okay, or if you do. Talk to the state. The state has a joint responsibility with it. Let them know what is going on with it and what the parish's concerns are. Two, go to the Corps. Talk to them and say, this is our concern. See what they say. Document what they say. Develop a conceptual plan for what the parish wants to see happen there. And then get the permit in. I believe applying for a permit is a good thing to do because developing a concept of what you want to do and applying for the permit, I think, is a good thing for the parish to do if you want to address
So the permit application is $30,000?
It depends on what we find out when we talk to the Corps. We could do it within that.
My question is can you apply for the permit without appropriation of $30,000? Where's the $30,000 going to be spent?
And developing the conceptual plans, talking with the Corps, et cetera, and putting a permit application in.
But we don't even really know, I guess, if we want to go against the Corps and CPRA as recommended. I mean,
that would be a decision of the Plaquemines Parish government. To me, you ought to develop what you think needs to be done. If nothing's the answer, then you do nothing. But if you think something needs to be done, it's a potentially, the thing is growing as I appreciate it. So if you don't do anything, it's likely to get worse over time. So I think there is some urgency. It's not necessarily a simple thing to close either. So in my view, the Plaquemines Parish is best served in dealing with the Corps of Engineers, the state, one, knowing what you want to do, developing concepts that you believe are sound and that the people want to do, and then presenting them to them. Second, if you can get the state on your side, you're better off doing that. So that's what I've recommended, and that's what the appropriation's for.
All right, Mr. Edgecombe?
Yes, sir. Well, I'm on board as far as trying to get Mardi Gras Pass closed with Mr. John and the fishermen. My question is, as far as a permit for the Corps, I don't see why our engineering department can't fill out the application for the Corps along with the administration and legal, get with the colonel and talk with them about Mardi Gras Pass, trying to close it if they can issue the permit to get it closed at minimal cost, and then if a plan is needed, then get someone to put a plan together in conjunction with the Corps and the state to close it properly. I don't think with $30,000 needed for a permit.
Problem is, I don't think our engineering department can do that.
A permit for...
Can you do it?
I'm going to come back to the council and request an ordinance for $30,000 to hire an engineering firm to come and do this. I don't think we can do it with the staff we have at this point. I'm sorry.
A permit for the Corps.
Yeah.
It's more than just a permit application. If we have the plans, we can fill out the application. That's easy. That's a form online. But without having the conceptual plan, and there's more to it than just putting an aerial photo together and coming up with a survey.
Okay, well, has anybody talked to the Corps itself about closing the pass to begin with?
Yes, I have.
The Corps
I've
said
stated
they
that several
do it
times.
because they haven't received that request from the parish to do it. So all I'm asking that we get appropriate and see what happens, and then at that point, if we don't want to go any further, we don't go any further. But at least we had due diligence by applying for the closure. That's all I'm asking.
All right, Mr. Rusev, hold on.
First of all, we passed the resolution here 9-0. Was the resolution sent to the Corps from the Secretary's office?
It was sent to CPRA. I don't know about the Corps, but I know we sent it.
We're already on record saying that we wanted it closed. However, Mr. Dugas, are you familiar with who owns the land that the breach is on?
No, sir, I'm not.
Has the structure at all been damaged?
I'm not familiar with the
Because of the
structure,
breach?
other than from the aerial photos that I've seen.
Well, all I can say is that I've been in meetings with the CPRA, I've been in meetings with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and they have emphatically stated they are not interested in addressing Mardi Gras Pass. They're not going to get involved in closing it, not going to spend any money on it. And, you know, if we want to spend $30,000, my question still stands, who is the landowner? Do you have to put the landowner's name on the application?
We don't have
I'm asking that question. Anybody here know that?
And the adjacent landowners.
The landowner and the adjacent landowner?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so no one knows who owns the land.
I do not have that information here.
I think that the sealing of the breach, I'm not an attorney, but I'll tell you what I think about that issue. I think that the sealing of a breach is integral to the operation of salinity control. That was set up as a priority control structure by Plaquemines. So to restore the functioning of salinity control, which I believe is a big issue up and down the river in coastal restoration, requires doing that. So I think it's an integral part of the project. I believe the Plaquemines Parish, and I also think it's a good strategy to apply for the permit with the Corps, because you can talk about it till the cows come home, but once you give them a permit application, they got to act on it. And they might, who knows what they're going to say. And the other key thing, I believe, is that you should get the state on your side, whatever y'all want to do. Now, if you want to do nothing, it's, you know.
So let me ask this, Mr. Frelish.
But I would try to get the state on the parish's side. I think you can do something good.
So can we ask Mr. Frelish to come to the podium and tell us what the state has told you?
Vince Frelich, I'm the coastal director for Plaquemines Parish. I spoke with the state, and John Truxillo is one of the guys I deal with as far as coastal restoration and wetland permits. I was told that if we went ahead and replace the structure, get it back in operation, we can close the pass. If we don't do that, they can't help us, and the Corps won't do it either.
And so you have an estimate of what it costs to replace the structure?
No, we haven't had
Is it
estimations.
100,000, a million, 2
No,
million?
It's probably going to come up into the millions.
Millions?
Yeah.
And that's the condition of what we have to do before we can close the breach?
I'm afraid so, yeah.
Thank you.
But we also have St. Bernard Parish is also interested in closing.
I understand it. Look, I'm going to vote for the 30,000. This is a political deal that we're trying to satisfy some people because they're not happy with the breach. At the end of the day, nothing will be done here without millions of dollars, and we don't have it.
Absolutely.
So, this is $30,000 out the window for an application that's not on our property, that's not going to get anywhere.
All right, well, let me add this to this. If the structure would have been operating like it should have been, this wouldn't have happened because it would have relieved the pressure. It would have relieved the pressure off
Mr.
of
Vince,
that part of the property.
that's all speculation, because when the high river comes, this reminds me of the people that used to come to the council meetings and beg us to do something because the cemeteries were flooded, because the river came up and inundated the cemeteries. We cannot control that river unless you put a levee there, and there's no levee going to go there.
Well, you see, the Corps of Engineers is supposed to protect the properties along the river with rock. Evidently, that area there, the rock failed, or they didn't have enough rock in that area, and the canal itself with the high river, it washed the south side of that structure out. And I mean, if it would have been operating like it should have been, it wasn't maintained. It wasn't maintained by the parish. Wildlife and Fisheries Office.
Look, I understand you're making a case against the parish right now for not operating that, but that's not fact. It's speculation, because when the river rose...
the Wildlife and Fisheries and the state was supposed to work in joint with the Plaquemines Parish to keep this structure in operation.
I know, but your comments about if the structure was in operation, the washout wouldn't have happened. You just heard from another individual that the washouts are happening continuously south of the structure, and they will continue to wash out. So we can go ahead and fix this one if we were lucky enough to fix it. You're going to go down another half a mile, and you're going to get another one, and another one. But the point is, we're beating a dead horse here. I understand where we're headed with this. I just wanted to make it clear that, this is the last $30,000 that I will be voting for, and I don't even feel comfortable about voting for that.
Well, we have to go to the Corps of Engineers and make them do their job, too, because in areas where Rich is talking about it washing out, there is low rock protection. The rock is not sufficient enough to stop the washouts in those areas. 'Cause, I mean, we got rock all over down the river, and you're not seeing that anywhere else except these areas here.
Okay.
Well, if you go down...
I mean, the situation is here, too. This pass is doubled in size. I mean, the longer we let it go, the worse it's going to get. So, I mean, how far are we going to let it go? If we keep letting this thing go, it might cost us $100 million to close it when it's necessary.
The bottom line is, this whole effort about coastal restoration is to let the river rebuild the land. And we're talking against ourselves right now because the river is rebuilding land. It's just inconveniencing some people. And, to think that we're going to solve this Mardi Gras Pass with $30,000 is really misleading.
You have to spend some money to do the study before you can do anything. So that's what some of this...
I'm going to remind you those words in about a year from now.
All right. We're going to, Mr. Bartholomew.
There's one other thing I want to add, okay? You guys have to look at the fishermen over here on the East Bank. We got oyster fishermen out of business now. We have shrimpers that are pretty much out of business because of the fresh water. Okay, you building vegetation, yeah. So you get a good freeze, it's all dead. So, and you get a little saltwater intrusion on Low River, then it's all dead. So, I mean, the oyster fishermen are sitting here trying to make a living. The shrimpers are trying to make a living on this side. So, I mean, take that into consideration.
And I understand that, but for us to sit up here and say we're going to close Mardi Gras Pass and give them false hope is disingenuous and not honest.
Well, at least an effort. At least let the people know we're trying.
I give up.
Right. Hold on. Mr. Bartholomew has called the question. Thank you, Mr.
Good.
The machine is open on 6I. And it's granted 8 with a no vote from District 2.
Thank you, Councilman. And
Move to-
I'm not coming back to no meeting. Trust me.
Move to 6J.
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Mr. Bartholomew?
Offer with the changes.
The changes are being passed out. We'll offer the changes and ask for a second. We'll ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burt. Mr. Bartholomew, we have him. Oh. Finance? Don?
All the positions but the last one were funded in the budget hearing. Those were the vacant positions that y'all refunded. The last one we spoke to y'all when we got here today. We lost an accounting clerk. He's got a new job, and we would like to replace him.
And all these positions were funded in the budget?
Yes.
Yes.
Except, right, except
The
all the other ones were funded
Right.
that we adopted.
Yeah, the last one is funded also.
It's funded
That's
too.
right.
So what are we asking? The captain? We trying to include the captain into it?
Yeah, but where did the captain come from? Why that's not highlighted?
That was originally on Mr. John's ordinance. We just asked if we could amend that and add these other positions
So
on
that
it.
wasn't voted on at the council, at the budget hearing,
No.
okay? I would offer with another amendment.
David?
I mean, okay, well,
This one is funded, though.
Yes.
no, we voted on all the stuff in yellow. We didn't vote on the one in white. The one in white, the Bartholomew.
Right.
No.
The accounting clerk's new.
Yeah, that one, well, we didn't vote to defund that one, though. We didn't vote to lay that one off. They're just replacing the person
It's just
just
to lift the
after the
hiring
budget hearing.
These aren't layoffs. These were the vacant.
No, I know.
Okay.
I'm saying we didn't vote for a finance accounting clerk to be laid off.
Right.
No.
It
You didn't
was a
take the
filled
funding
position,
out.
they just quit after the budget hearing.
Yes.
Right. This morning, we found out this morning.
Well,
Why don't we
is
just
it
create a
in
new
yellow?
ordinance?
It was on here.
Why is
We
the
just-
accounting clerk in yellow?
It's a change.
Yeah, we never did defund it. We didn't defund it at the budget hearing. It was filled, and we decided not to cut it, not to lay off, keep it funded, and it was filled, but the person just resigned.
Well, that was my original question. So the ferry captain was the only one that wasn't important.
Right.
Everything in yellow is a change. The original ordinance is everything that's in white. So the ferry captain was on there originally, and so that's why everything else is yellow. We put everything in yellow that's a change.
And my question, why isn't it just a new ordinance? Why don't you slip this into this with the ferry captain?
This kind of got started with the building custodian. That position got created during the budget hearings to move a person in there. Right. But if we didn't lift the hiring freeze, that person couldn't have been moved until January. And he wouldn't have got paid for
No,
a
I
pay
know
period.
exactly what's going on.
Okay. That's originally where this came from.
I mean, did we put that did we vote on the ferry captain at the
No.
budget hearing?
No.
It was funded or defunded?
It was,
Is it funded?
yes.
At the budget hearing it was funded?
No. That was
Right.
originally on Mr. John's ordinance, the ferry captain.
Right, but at the budget hearing,
No. It's still funded.
So we're lifting the
We're lifting the hiring freeze to replace this ferry captain.
Yes.
Correct. That's
It's
what
a
you're doing.
budgeted item.
And the reason these are put on here is because this was an ordinance that was out there already. so you can
Right.
go ahead and start the hiring process on these positions. If we would have waited and introduced another ordinance, then you wouldn't get to start doing that until January, since there's not another meeting in December. So that's the only reason they were added to this one, the ones in yellow.
We had a ferry captain who resigned about a month ago, and we introduced this ordinance to replace him, and that's where this come from.
In the vote that we had at the budget hearing, which I voted against, to replace the ferry captain, that's this captain, right?
I don't remember you voting against it. You didn't vote against it.
Yeah, we voted to, the administration voted to, proposed to reduce by like $2.5 million. And we voted to actually reduce it only by like $1.5 million or $1 million, which included the salaries from a ferry captain.
Not that
So
captain.
if that vote would have,
Not that captain there.
so this is another captain.
That's
Right.
correct.
So this,
We needed two or three captains. This one was already, I told y'all we needed a captain. That was
well, how many, if
something
we vote on
introduced.
this, how many captains are we going to have now?
We're missing about 3 or 4, because we have one who resigned about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
and we have
Right.
2 or 3 who may resign in the next 2 months. Just Saturday, I have Joy, who's the superintendent, he have to operate the Point Hatch Ferry because we're shorthanded. So that's the situation we're in right now. This is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
All right. Any other questions from the table?
See, but see, my head is swimming, because, to just add on to what Mr. Reverend Giles said, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. So how did we arrive here? If it was a necessity, how did this position?
What happened was, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the ferry captain resigned. So we asked Civil Service the procedure to replace him. I think Mr. Bartholomew introduced the ordinance to replace the ferry captain. I don't recall at the budget hearing us defunding this position for this captain. We defunded some deckhands and I think another ferry captain, but not this one right here. This was, the other stuff in yellow was just brought in recently, but 2 weeks ago this was introduced for the ferry captain.
It wasn't this captain, because this captain quit after the budget books were already presented.
That's correct.
This is
So
like a
it's
new
after
one.
the fact.
So, I mean, it's
Okay.
something after we did the budget, this is something that came up.
And the funding is already
I
there.
thought this was prior to, but it was after the fact.
Let me ask you this, the Director of Administration, the parish president who comes in is going to make that appointment, but he's not going to make it until January.
Right. And that's why we just threw it on there, where it would be available on January 1st for whoever to hire somebody
Or continue what they're doing.
or continue what they're doing, correct?
Right.
So all of these positions are in the same situation to where they're going to go out and advertise for the rest of them now.
Right.
They can't advertise until the hiring freeze is lifted.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying. If
Right, after the hiring freeze is
Right.
lifted, they can go out and start advertising now to fill those positions, correct.
For January 1st, they could be filled.
I mean, the director, of course, is not going to be done until, if the administration decides to do it.
Yeah.
But this is just to get the hiring freeze lifted in case, there's something that happens. Y'all going to have to appoint the directors anyway.
Any other questions from the table? Audience?
And that custodian is the person
Machine is
who was
open
referring
on
to,
6J.
right, Chico?
Granted 9-0. Move to 6K.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Flood Control Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Your offer, Mr. Juneau? It's been offered. Can I get a second?
Where we at?
Second by Mr. Bartholomew. Offer is read. Any questions? Machine is open.
Wait, can I get an explanation on it?
Mr. Juno, any information on it?
We're on
Information's
6K?
attached.
Hmm?
Information's attached?
I don't have any. I don't even have it either. It's transferring money. Tommy, we have anything on this?
Yeah, I have an email that was sent that asks us for this. It's from Mr. Wallace asked for this. It's moving funds to the heavy equipment, within the heavy equipment department, flood control department, to purchase a Gradall. He didn't have the money in the capital outlay, so he's just moving the money from operating to capital outlay to be able to purchase a Gradall.
So it's just transferring the money over?
Yes, that's it. It's just a transfer.
Okay, you good?
What kind of machine is that? What is that?
A Gradall.
Is that one he sent it to us?
All right, the machine is open. And it's granted 9-0. Move to 6L.
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation for the Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness Department and to amend the General Fund 2016 Operating Revenue and Expenditure Budgets, Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second.
Second. Call the question.
Second by Mr. Russo. The question's been called.
I think it's
We gotta get out.
John's left. Bowie. Okay. And it's granted 8-0. Move to 6M.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Self-Insurance Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. I'll ask for a second. Jeff Edgecombe, Mr. Edgecombe. Tommy, can you explain this one?
Yes, sir. This is also a transfer between sections. There was addition in the self-insurance department. It's a transfer from the self-insurance medical, which had additional funds, to the professional services, which was going over.
Okay. It's
For the year.
transfer. Zero balance.
Yes, it's just a transfer between functions and all it is.
All right. Any questions? Machine's open. It's granted 8-0. Move to 6N.
A resolution authorizing and directing the parish president or his designee to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate, execute, perfect, and enforce any and all documents required to apply for a local government assistance program grant from the Office of Community Services in the amount of $100,000 to purchase zero-turn grass mowing machines and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Juno.
Do you have any idea if this is going to have a match or anything, or we won't know till we...
I talked to Hilda yesterday.
Grant, no matter.
I talked to Hilda yesterday, myself and Mr. Juno. No, there's no money from the parish. No
Okay.
match.
Okay. Any other questions? Machine's open. Nicole? And it's granted 8-0. Move to 6-0.
Here comes the fun.
A resolution to elect the chairman of the Plaquemines Parish Council for the year 2017 and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Burt, fill in the blank.
I'll offer with the following changes. On line 5, insert John L. Bartholomew Jr. Those changes I will offer.
Second by Ms. Williams. Any questions? Machine's open.
Where is he?
He ain't even here to get congratulated. Congratulations, Mr. Bartholomew. 8-0. He didn't make his first meeting. Okay, all right. We'll move to 6P.
A resolution to elect the vice chairman of the Plaquemines Parish Council for the year 2017 and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Burt, you're offering with a fill in the blank?
Yes, I'll offer with a change on line 5 to Irvin Juno, and I'll offer.
I'll second. Any questions? Machine's open.
Look for yourself, Irvin. Go ahead. It's all legal.
And the ordinance is granted 8-0. Congratulations, Mr. Juno. We voted for your chairman. We're supposed to run the meeting. Where are you? Okay. All right. Move to 6S.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the Jesuit Bend Drainage Project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Burt, you offering?
I'll offer.
We got a bunch of fill in the blank.
Success?
I'm on the wrong one. I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay. Hold on. All right. Offer and who second? And Mr. Edgecombe second. Mr. Burt, you can just offer?
I'll just give a brief, little bit of history on this project. Kind of goes back to 2008, and I'll just call it a shell game or shuffling of funds. But this appropriation started back in 2008 with about $700,000 for the Jesuit Bend Drainage Project. So from 2008 to about 2013, it was just a shuffling of money to different projects outside of the intended purpose, which was the Jesuit Bend Drainage. There were some funds that was shifted to the Upper Bellchase area to fund a pump station study that never had money for construction. There was also about $300,000 that was shifted to heavy equipment to purchase graders, dozers, front-end loaders, again, not for its intended purposes. So all I'm asking is this money be refunded back to the Jesuit Bend Drainage Project so we can put this project to a rest. This is a match share HMGP grant from the state, and I would ask my colleagues to please support this. Not only is it in District 6, but it also has a portion in District 8, and I would appreciate your support.
Any questions from the table?
Yes, and you said, Mr. Burt, you said the funding initially was for the Jesuit Bend?
Yes, ma'am. There was an appropriation of $700,000 from the Public Sewage Fund. There was also some appropriations from the Ollie Pump Station Bond Fund. And like I said, throughout the course of 2008 all the way up into 2014, the money was actually shuffled out of this account to various other projects. And I'm just asking this money be put back so I can get this project settled for the residents of my district. Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh.
I just want to make a comment here. While I agree that it's probably a needed project, and I probably will support it, however, this is just the first time that we have gone to the unreserved and designated fund balance for a capital outlay project since we've had this budget crisis. So if there's an indication that we're going to start doing projects out of the unreserved and designated fund balance, I want to caution everyone that, we still have a crisis. And this project, is not unlike all the other projects in the capital improvement budget that have been stripped and money moved all throughout the parish. And I understand that you really want to get this project done, and I will support it, but I was hoping that you would have found some money in some of the surplus projects that are out there, like, for instance, the Bellchase Pump Station project. So we don't have to touch the unreserved and designated fund balance, because normally what happens is when you do that, next meeting you'll see introductions to hit that unreserved and designated fund balance again. And this is the first one in probably a year and a half or so. So, having said that, I just want to caution everyone where we're headed.
Any other questions? Mr. Henry?
Mr. Burt, how much money is in that project now?
There's, I believe, $662,000 from the state, and there's about $49,000 left over in bond money, and about $12,000 of general fund money that I moved from my Council 6 district last year.
So how much money you want to get from the unreserved?
It's $150,000.
And how much is left in unreserved, undesignated fund balance?
The balance in 2016, we started off today at $4.5 million. However, in all the changes we made in 2007, we had about a $500,000 fund balance for 2007. So if this passes, this will decrease the 2017 fund balance to about $350,000.
That's really my point, that we are headed down to drilling on an unreserved, undesignated fund balance that's going to be pretty low.
Right, we usually don't like to, $500,000 we kept it at pretty much for the whole year, last year, because y'all didn't touch it much. But, $350,000 we getting down pretty, $500,000 is really low.
I guess my question is there any other projects that you can extract this $150,000 from that was left somewhere?
We tried to help Mr. Burt with that. We've been working with him for quite a while, and it's really, we took most of the projects out. So there's not a whole lot of money left to do that with.
Yeah, the only other funding source we looked at was the, which I had an introduction here, but I don't know if we can touch it. It was about $30,000 in the Oakville to La Receipt levy project was $30,000 from that bond fund, but we cannot touch that.
Well, I hope you get the project.
All right, vote. Machine is open.
If you vote no, vote no.
Who's left? Ms. Audrey? Oh, we vote.
Mr. Russo raised some very interesting questions, Mr. Burt, but
And it's granted 9-0.
Thank you for supporting that. Just one quick comment. I've never really came to this council for any funding, and probably the last time I come back, but I do appreciate it, and I'm sure the residents of the District 6 and District 8 areas greatly appreciate your vote. Thank you.
All right, we'll move to 6T.
An ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements plan for the Jesuit Bend Drainage Project and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Mr. Burt?
I will offer.
Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Mr. Burt?
Yeah, all this does is take money from my operating budget, it's $12,000, and moves it to the Jesuit Bend Drainage Project. It's a transfer of funds,
Any question?
since I won't have none in 2017.
Machine is open on 6T. Ms. Audrey?
so this means that your operating budget for 2017 will not increase.
No, I don't have any.
Doesn't have any.
They took it all.
And it's granted 9-0.
Thank you once again.
We will move to item 7, 7B.
Update and presentation by District 7, Councilmember Trufant Salvan.
Salvant?
I think I can defer that because the initial question with the ferry issue was answered during the update of the president.
So that's been deferred.
Yes.
Move to item 7D.
District 1 update, Councilmember Bartholomew.
I'd like to welcome all of y'all over here today. It's being the last day of this year that we will meet. And I appreciated you all attending the lunch that I had prepared for you. And I hope that it won't be your last lunch.
Mr. Bartholomew? Mr. Bartholomew.
I'm talking about on the East Bank. I ain't talking. I'm just talking about the East Bank.
Mr. Bartholomew, the lunch was delicious. Thank you.
And I just want to thank my colleagues during this whole year and I appreciate your efforts and your support for this government. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bartholomew.
I'd just like to wish everybody a happy and healthy holiday.
Likewise,
Yep, same here.
it's been a good year, and look forward to a couple more.
One more. Item 8. The minute, item 8.
Approval of the minutes from the November 10th, 2016 meeting and the November 21st, 2016 budget hearing and the November 22nd 2016 special meeting.
Offer.
Offer by Mr. Bartholomew.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Burt. Machine's open on the minutes.
This is it for me.
Make a motion.
Wait a minute. Let me get the minutes. Can you vote on the minutes?
Oh, they back on the regular schedule.
And the minutes are granted 9-0. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Offered by Mr. Black. Second by Mr. Bartholomew. Machine is open on adjournment. And with a 9-0 vote, we are adjourned at 5:03. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Here you go, John.